Good morning, everybody. This is the November 17th, 2022 OLCC Commission meeting. Before we get started and take the roll, a couple of minor housekeeping items. I decided to set aside an item that was on the agenda today. It's called Eyes on Oregon, that looks upon the food and beverage home delivery services that also offer alcohol beverages and consumer ordering by use of a smartphone. It's an extremely important subject. The reason why I decided as chairman to take it off the agenda today is I think the commissioners, all of us need a little bit more time to better understand all of the survey data. I'm in the data business, and yeah, numbers don't lie, data doesn't lie. We just need to understand what the story is all about. So we're going to come back and obviously share everything with the public on it, but I think it's going to be maybe a month or so before we get to that. So that's the reason why Eyes on Oregon is not on the agenda today. I also want to note that Dr. Anthony Taylor, who's chair of the OCC, he is not feeling well. He's under the weather, and he is not going to participate today. With that, will you please take the roll?
Commissioner Curran,
Here.
Commissioner Doherty,
Here.
Commissioner Floyd,
Here.
Commissioner Japon Porter,
Here.
Commissioner Miletus,
Here.
Commissioner Reval,
Here.
Chair Rosenbaum.
Here. First item is warehouse update. Jeff Samuels, Director of Administrative Services Division.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
So Chair Rosenbaum and Commissioners, for the record, my name is Jeff Samuels,
I'll look at next.
and I'm the Administrative Services Division Director. I'll give you a short update on our warehouse project. We're actively involved, moving along. We're currently in schematic design. So our architect has taken all of our programming and is inputting that into their schematic design for the property. I think you'll be able to look at it. I'll be with you this afternoon. And so the other thing that we have going is that we're currently working with ASS and DOJ for the request for proposal for our construction manager as general contractor, which is CMGC. That is currently getting reviewed right now. We hope to have that out to the public for people to provide their proposals in December. And then we'll have a selection process and then be able to hopefully have them on board with us early April. And then they will work closely with our architect in design development of the building and provide their expertise and ideas on how we could be more timely and cost effective in the construction process. So that's really a kind of a short brief on where we're at. We're actively working on this. It's obviously an important project that we're all working on. So I'll take any questions if you have any.
Any question? Well, that was painless enough.
That you guys are easy. Appreciate
That's because Chris wasn't here.
it. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
We do have to have approval of the October 19th, 2022 commission minute meetings. Is there any discussion on the meetings, on the minutes? Okay, I need a motion.
Chairman,
What, one of you go ahead. It don't matter.
I move to approve October 19th, 2022 commission meeting minutes as written.
Commissioner Curran,
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Japon Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Miletus,
Yes.
Commissioner Reval,
Yes.
Chair Rosenbaum.
Yes. Okay, contested case hearings, presentation of oral argument on exceptions to the proposed order issued by the Office of Administrative Hearings. Who's up first? There you go.
Yes,
Good morning.
good morning. Good morning, Chair Rosenbaum, Commissioners. I'm Sarah Wolf with the Administrative Hearings Division.
Also present are Senior Assistant Attorney General Stacy Postgate and the Counsel for Licensee Joe Huddleston. I'm here to offer for your approval the proposed final order in a contested case proceeding regarding licensee Central Pastime, which is located in Burns, Oregon. In the proposed final order, the administrative law judge found the facts were undisputed and recommended the licensee's full on-premises sales license be suspended for a period of 72 days. There were two violations at issue in this matter. The first involved an incident that occurred on or about December 2, 2020, when the licensee failed to require employees, customers, and visitors to wear a mask or face covering at the licensed premises in indoor spaces open to the public when no exception to mask guidance applied. The second violation involved an incident that occurred on March 27, 2021, when licensee did not require patrons or staff to wear masks at all times except when eating or drinking. The first violation involved OAR 845-006-035 17A, which was temporarily effective until December 18, 2020. The second violation involved OAR 845-006-035 15. The witnesses called included Dr. Paul Cieslak, Oregon Health Authority Medical Director, Division of Communicable Diseases and Immunization. He testified that COVID-19 is respiratory disease spread through respiratory droplets in the air produced when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks. It can be deadly. He also explained that the transmission of the affected is affected by the proximity of people to each other, time spent together, and the number of people in a space and the ventilation of the space. Only small amounts of COVID-19 virus are required to infect an individual. Also testifying, Ivana Kursick, Oregon Health Authority Public Health Division COVID-19 Response Reopening Coordination Policy and Partnership Lead Broker. That is a significant title. Ms. Kursick testified about the process by which Oregon Health Authority developed guidelines for drinking and eating establishments pursuant to governor's orders. She explained the process whereby the governor's order was implemented and explained the process by which her staff determined that the governor's orders, the governor agreed with the publication of the proposed orders by OAH. Also testifying, Alcohol Inspector Terry Hutton. Inspector Hutton is assigned to the area of Eastern Oregon in which Burns is located, and he visited the premises on December 2 because of an anonymous complaint, and on March 27, 2021, visited for a standard business check. In both instances, he saw employees and partners, patrons, not following mask guidance at times and under circumstances in which the exceptions to the mask guidance did not apply. Licensee did not call witnesses. Licensee presented legal argument and examined the witnesses that were called. The proposed order made by the ALJ was that licensee did not dispute any of the factual allegations made by OLCC, that the licensed premises was open for business and allowing indoor on-premises consumption of food and or drink on the dates alleged. It did not require employees, patrons to wear masks while at the licensed premises. As I stated, the licensee challenged the legal basis for the alleged violation and argued that the entire matter should be dismissed. The judge specifically found that violation number 1 had been established and that violation number 2 had been established. The proposed violation, the proposed remedy, which was for category 2s, was 60 days of suspension, and the judge explained that the basis for aggravation was substantiated. This was intentionally committing a violation. Evidence showed that licensee Hodge was aware of the governor's orders and OHA guidance regarding the indoor dining and masking. The second aggravation was that one or more patrons were involved, and the ALJ found this had been established. Additionally, the final aggravation was that licensee personally committed the violation. Licensee Hodge is the sole and managing member of the Central Pastime LLC. As such, licensee Hodge had sole authority over the decision to require employees and customers to wear masks indoors and personally committed the violation alleged. I hereby request that the commission adopt the ALJ's proposed order, and the proposed penalty remedy should be imposed. Sitting to my left is Joe Huddleston, who has a different opinion and will explain his position.
Thank you. Chair Rosenbaum and Commissioners, good morning. My name is Joe Huddleston, and I'm an attorney representing Central Pastime and licensee Patty Hodge. I work for Kevin L. Mannix, PC.
Can I stop for a second, please? I'm only talk for myself now, okay? I'm reading this thing in detail. And the first thing I say to myself is, I've read this thing before. I've read it line by line before. And obviously, along came Trudy, that's in the Court of Appeals. It's over, it's overriding this thing, in my mind, to a certain extent. The Court of Appeals said, hey, look, there's potential irreparable injury, and they have a culpable claim of error. So, we're going to look at this thing. All of a sudden, this case comes along, and it's the same factual situation in terms of the statutes. The governor can't supersede the state statute. The OHA is guidance is non-administrative rule, or it's not part of a governor's executive order. We've read this thing 3 or 4 times. What I really, only for me, I can't talk for the rest of the commission. What I'd like you to address is true. Along came Trudy was a cancellation. This is a suspension. There's a difference between it. In my mind, why shouldn't, you have to answer that, you have to answer this, why should or shouldn't this commission just hold in abeyance our decision on this until the Court of Appeals is over with it? And that's your argument. And I'd like to understand a little bit more about what your argument is, because that's going to control my vote on this. And you, I would like to hear in rebuttal of why we shouldn't do it. Why we shouldn't hold this in abeyance until the Court of Appeals rules on Along Came Trudy. Am I
Right. No.
am I to cut through all the chase on this thing? That's where we're sitting. And I'm not asking for your opinion because if I get it, I know what your answer is going to be.
So excuse me, Chair Rosenbaum, I don't know if I need a mic anymore. No, okay. No, I wasn't going to give my opinion. But actually what I did want to say is one of the issues here, and it is something we can absolutely resolve right now, is that under the APA, any state agency has to give a decision within 90 days after the proposed order is issued, unless you give notice that you're not going to give it and a reason why. So there's no reason procedurally why you couldn't agree to put it on.
Okay, very good. You earned your money today. Like you said. No, this is a serious issue. We're not kidding. Go ahead. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to frame that. So
Yeah.
that-
No, and thanks for cutting to the chase. I mean, we can talk about the legal arguments, but as you're saying, that is now in front of the Court of Appeals, and we'll get a merits decision on that sometime, hopefully. Who knows when, because I can't predict the Court of Appeals. anyways, as to the advanced question, it's the exact same rule cited as part of the violations here. It's for the same conduct violating OHA guidance. It's a little different in the Along Came Trudy matter, and the Along Came Trudy both dealt with masks and indoor dining. This case solely deals with mask violations. I don't know why. Maybe at the time Harney County, where Burns is, permitted indoor dining, but masks were still prohibited under the OHA guidance. Of course, I shouldn't use the word prohibited because I'm arguing that the OHA guidance is in the law, but you get my point. So the whole rationale in Along Came Trudy forwards here. I mean, it's the same rule. It's the same issue with the OHA guidance. And that would be a colorable claim of error in the order as is set out by the appellate commissioner's opinion, which was denied reconsideration by the chief judge of the Court of Appeals after DOJ asked for it in an appeal. So I don't have a reason to believe why the Court of Appeals would not grant a stay in this matter. And so from a practical perspective, I would much rather argue the merits in either this case or Along Came Trudy and not have to argue over a stay. And I can't speak for OLCC staff, but I feel like that's a lot of unnecessary litigation when we've already been given a pretty clear answer from the Oregon Court of Appeals. The final order, the proposed order here is a little different from the Along Came Trudy order in that there's another rule cited, which is the OLCC's temporary rule, sub 17A, which was in effect in July of 2020 to December of 2020. And with that rule, there's an argument there to be made, and hasn't been in front of the Court of Appeals because that's not what was cited against Along Came Trudy. Regardless or not of whether that rule cited, there's still the statute says a colorable claim of error, not full colorable claim of error. So if there's one colorable claim of error in an agency order, it's my position then that it should be stayed regardless of whether the Court of Appeals has ruled on the legal issue or not. In addition, the suspension here is 66 days. So with the sub 17 issue, it's a question of how much of that 16-day or 66-day, excuse me, 72, is it 72?
It's
72-day liquor license suspension is in the 17A bucket or the 16A bucket, and are they independent and separate of each other? I don't think they are because they were combined into two violations. And then in addition to that, I think the 17A issue is a legal argument that was, if you look at the Court of Appeals opinion, it cites to Moody versus Oregon Health Authority, which is the basis for the colorable claim of error. That was a rule challenge brought under 183-400 against the OHA guidance. The merits decision was that the matter was dismissed as moot. However, in dismissing the matter as moot, the Court of Appeals said, we question as to whether the OHA guidance is part of an executive order in this matter. And they also said pretty clearly, there's a statute that says executive orders are required to be filed with the Secretary of State. The OHA guidance was never filed with the Secretary of State. However, because they dismissed the matter as moot, they didn't go past it. But as the appellate commissioner points out, the Court of Appeals did give an opinion on the matter, and it at least raises it to the level of a colorable claim of error. Ultimately, whether my client in this matter and Along Came Trudy is entitled to a favorable decision on the merits, that will have to occur after the matter is fully briefed. And so I think this is the exact same issue as we have in Along Came Trudy. There is another rule cited. I think regardless of whether or not our legal arguments are correct with that rule, it still would not, there's still a colorable claim of error in the order here, according to the Court of Appeals in Along Came Trudy. So whatever the temporary rule does or doesn't do, or whether it's legally binding or not, I don't think it really changes anything. But that's the only thing that I would think would distinguish this from Along Came Trudy is that temporary rule.
So let me, go ahead.
Sarah, could you respond?
Well, not the legal argument, but the question I would request, Commissioner Raval, is that the commissioners consider whether or not the Court of Appeals would appropriately handle two cases that were substantially similar, coming to them in a fairly brief period of time. So by allowing the matter to go forward, accepting the decision of the administrative law judge, you are opening the opportunity to the Court of Appeals to make a decision as to whether they would put this case in a closet for a period of time until they looked at Along Came Trudy. And it would also allow them to examine simultaneously issues which are similar, but as Mr. Huddleston has suggested, different. So I don't think you can guarantee, I don't think anybody can guarantee to this commission that a decision in Along Came Trudy would give you the guidance you need in order to make an informed decision on this case. It is similar, yes, it is not identical. And the nature of the remedy could in fact impact the decision of the Court of Appeals. So you are, I believe you are trying to, and it would be reasonable to make this a black and white thing in terms of the two cases being similar. I question whether or not that is an appropriate response, but is your decision to make. And you have the facts in front of you, you have the decisions, and you're familiar with Court of Appeals cases. You've had them come through here before. So I would just ask that I would ask that you not assume that the two cases are so identical that there's no reason for the Court of Appeals to examine them together.
Counselor? In a Reader's Digest version, because I'm old. What do you want?
I would like you guys to stay the effective or to obey, whatever you want to call it, the effectiveness of this proposed order up until the point where either in this matter or Along Came Trudy, the Court of Appeals makes a merits decision. I think if you did that, you would have to, in your proposed order, make sure that I file my notice of appeal, and which I will do as soon as I get the proposed order.
How long do you have to file? If we vote against you today, how long do you have to file a notice of appeal?
60 days.
60 days.
But I have, as I learned in the Along Came Trudy, I have 7 days to file a stay. Because that's when you make your final orders effective within 7 days. And
Can you appeal if we put it in advance? If we don't make a decision, you can't appeal, can you?
If you don't mind, I think I can try and clear some of this up. Excuse me, Chair Rosenbaum, Commissioner Curran. So these, just to help you along with the process. So you have some options today. The first one is just to stay right now, and that's what I was talking about the 90-day decision, but it just occurred to me that's not necessarily what I think we're asking for here. The other option is you issue your final order, whatever that's going to be, and then we stay, I have no idea which way you guys are going to go, but let's just say that the final order is adopting the proposed order. So then what you do is Steve has delegated authority to stay the enforcement of that order. And normally what would happen, and this happened in Along Came Trudy, is the licensee actually moves for a stay when they move for reconsideration. And then we have something like 30 days to work through that. But because we're working with a 72-day suspension, I know that the licensee would like to get a stay immediately, especially since we have the holidays coming. So one way to move forward is just however it is, if you do decide to adopt the proposed order and issue a final order, there would then be a stay on it pending the outcome of, I assume, the appeal in this case.
Well,
for central
who
pastime.
makes the stay at that point?
I'm sorry, excuse me.
If we adopt and we agree that we adopt the final order, I don't understand what you're saying. After that, there can be a stay. Who makes the determination on the stay then?
Director Marks,
The what?
Director Marks.
Steve,
Oh. I did, whether you guys understood it, I didn't.
he's all powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
And then to carry through the process, if Director Marks were to say no, then the licensee asks the Court of Appeals to review Director Marks' decision. But we could shortcut all of that.
All right. That makes a lot of sense. I did not understand that. Maybe you guys did. I didn't. I mean, I've been around for a long time. I don't understand what kind of power this guy has over me.
You can only at a moment's notice. You can be directed.
It is in your role.
It's interesting.
And thank you. It's just that when you walked up with that, I said, I've seen you and I've seen that before.
Very
That would
interesting.
just, if we issue the stay at this level, then the Court of Appeals wouldn't need to issue the stay. Correct.
Right.
Okay.
And we wouldn't need to litigate over it, which
Oh,
is,
it's stay.
yes. We can just argue this on the merits.
But if we issue the stay, I just want to follow this one other thing. If we issue the stay, the Court of Appeals rules against along came Trudy, there's no way in hell you're not going to go forward with it anyway. Well, I'm not even asking you to respond to it, but you get it both ways, which is fine. I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, well, and I would think that if the Court of Appeal, while the stay is pending, it is effective until the Court of Appeals issues a merits decision and then,
On central pastime.
yeah, on central pastime is the way that work and if oral argument is in June, maybe a decision in this time next year.
Sure.
Well, you still have very limited, but you still have grounds for appeal regardless of along came Trudy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think with the rule 17.
Well, you alluded to it in
Yeah.
your open comment.
And it's a interesting issue and the way that the OLCC's rules was structured. And I can get into that or you can just.
No, I follow that. I understand. This has been helpful.
Chair Rosen, I've got a quick question. So both, remind me, so they're in operation currently, correct? Pending the outcome of
Central Pasta? Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yep.
as well as along came Trudy. They're
Yeah.
still able to utilize their
Yes,
home licenses.
Yes.
Okay.
There's one thing that's bothering me that I just want to ask. It has nothing, it's only for my edification. When the inspector came in both before and in March 27th, there was a big sign in there saying OSHA may not enter without a warrant. Do you have any idea why she would put something like that up?
I don't know.
I mean, that just screams out at me. I'm saying it out loud because it screams at me. You know, what kind of an establishment puts up something that OSHA cannot enter without a warrant?
I don't believe that is a relevant issue.
I don't think it's a legal relevant issue. I think it's a very relevant issue in terms of this commission. And I'm saying it out loud because if any bar owner is listening to this thing, you know, that's not an acceptable way to do business with us, is to tell us, stay the hell out of our establishment without a warrant. That pisses me off more than anything else.
Well,
And I hope your client hears that because, you know, it's not going to have any effect at this moment on it, but it is an issue. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way, but to me, that was offensive.
and I believe OSHA is OSHA, not the OLCC, so
Yeah.
there's a difference there in terms of what OSHA and OLCC can.
That it's not a difference to me, because if they can say it to OSHA, they can say it to OLCC, and, you know, there's plenty of times that bar owners have been, less than, cooperative with the OLCC. That's not your problem. I just wanted to get it out, that's all.
So our next move is what?
Recess.
I love recesses.
We're going in, the commission will take a recess. And then we'll go forward. This has been very helpful. Thank you. Commissioner Rebel,
We're back in session.
we're back in session.
Chair Rosenbaum.
In the matter of central pastime, I move to adopt the proposed order as the final order.
Please take the roll.
Commissioner Curran,
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Japon Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Miletus,
Yes.
Commissioner Revolt,
Yes.
Chair Rosenbaum.
Yes.
I care say a few more comments.
You are most welcome, Commissioner. Since when have I ever denied anybody to do what they want?
Someday. Is it okay for us to say at my hope that, the Director Marks will grant a stay at this level? And so we're hopeful I'm hopeful, I'll speak for myself, that we can issue a stay at that level while we await some more guidance from the Court of Appeals. And I also want to make clear that while I did vote yes in this particular case, I do think that the result is very concerning to me. And I wish that our leadership of the state and other agencies and folks that are part of the profession, the medical profession and so forth, look at this to see some of the damages that we are seeing and the outcomes that we're seeing from this, that are kind of percolating and trickling down now. And so while I do have, I am sympathetic to to this particular situation. I felt ultimately that it was something that I did vote for in the beginning, and trying to maintain consistency with this, and hopeful that we can look forward to having the situation not occur again.
Chair Rosenbaum.
Commissioner Rebel.
One of the things I like those who are listening, particularly our licensees, is that you can always disagree with the rules and regulations that come out of the state of Oregon or any state government in this state, including us. But when you take a stance that will put our team members in jeopardy, I'm never going to vote on your behalf. As a former police officer, when someone takes such an egregious step as to cause safety of our personnel, then you're going to lose every time. I will try to convince my team members as much as I can that that's not allowed. This is not just to this client we're talking about. There are other situations that occurred across the state. I didn't agree with everything that the governor did or OHA did, but never, ever put our team members in jeopardy. And I saw that time and time again. It's not acceptable. Disagree with me, tell me I'm dumb, I'm fine with that. But when men and women are going out in any of the realms that we operate in, and believe me, this is minor to some of the realms that we have to operate in around the state. When we knock on the door and say, can we inspect your whatever? We have the authority to do so. We will do so. And if you put us in jeopardy, then you put your livelihood in jeopardy, and perhaps law enforcement's as well. So please, grow up. Disagree, but grow up.
Thank you very much. Retail services, matters pertaining to selection of new agents. Mr. Fleming.
Morning, Chair Rosenbaum, Commissioners. For the record, Brian Fleming, Director of Retail Services. 2 liquor stores for appointment today, Cave Junction in far southern Oregon, as well as Hillsborough Aloha store on the west side of Beaverton, Aloha. In your packet, you have the first one is Cave Junction, and because I anticipate the chairman asking this, is seeing the presentations and deliberating on both at the same time. Is that the desire?
Do you want to take one, go into session and do it? Because if we got to 8 or 9, we have to keep them more in mind. My suggestion is to do one at a time.
When you get 3 applicants for Cape Junction and 5 for.
Yes.
So we do one, go in, make a decision, come out, and then do the other. Okay. That's what we're gonna
Start
do.
up front. With that said, this is for the Cave Junction store, result of resignation from the retiring agent. 20 years in this community running liquor store, Jeanette Montgomery. So today I have 3 presenters in front of you. Had a little bit of problem with the computer, but give me one just second. Remember the olden days when I had all the paper in front of me? This is refreshing. So the 3 applicants today, I have Aaron Sandahl will present first. Presentations will be on the screen run by Laura. For all applicants, please state your name for the record, and then you'll have 5 to 7 minutes. Usually I have a volunteer timekeeper. Commissioner Revolt. Do I have a volunteer? Good. So you'll have 5 to 7 minutes to present. Please state your name for the record. You'll be reminded at the 6.5 minute mark, I believe, Commissioner Revolt. And again, we'll just move through as swiftly as we can. So with that said, advance the slides through Adam today as you're going through. So take it away, Aaron.
Good morning, Aaron Sandahl for the record, District Manager, or actually Senior Director of Operations for C&K Market. And I'll start. So I'd like to talk to you today about taking over the Cave Junction liquor store, number 1138, but also moving into our Shops Mart grocery store, which is located in Cave Junction. It's about 3 blocks south of where the liquor store is. Next slide, please. There's the Cave Junction store. Next slide. C&K Markets is an independent grocery store. We've got 38 stores in Northern California and in Southern Oregon. We also have 4 expansion OLCC stores in Sisters and in Gold Hill, Merlin, and Selma. We focus on smaller communities with prominent focus on a lot of local items, fresh product, and we became a employee-owned grocery company in December of 2020. Next slide. Cave Junction Liquor has been an asset to the community since opening and is a destination stop for the customers headed to the Oregon coast and for the local community. Currently employing 2 employees and an owner-operator. Shops Mart has been part of the community since 1988. We employ 14 full-time employees and 27 part-time employee owners. We pride ourselves on being part of the community. We offer our customers the best service of products possible. We're known for a large selection and getting our customers the items they want, not the items that we want to sell them. An added liquor store would be a great benefit to the community for a one-stop shop. Is really what we're trying to focus there. Next slide. I've been with C&K Markets for about 30 years. I started as a courtesy clerk and worked my way up into the current position as of this year. Very versed in P&L management, cash management, inventory management, and merchandising. And the licensee for the OLCC stores in Sisters, Gold Hill, Selma, and Merlin. And we're showing continuous growth year after year. Shops Mart store manager Bruce Hill could not be with us today, but he's been a manager with us for about 4 years and has been a store manager for 14 years. He'll be overseeing the day-to-day operations in the store there. And then we've offered the current manager of the Cave Junction Liquor Store, Betty Andrews, the position of liquor department manager in the location. And she'd be coming on with us in a full-time position as an employee owner. Next slide. Offering liquor at Shop Smart will enhance convenience to the public. We currently offer, we serve 8,500 customers a week, and we're looking for a true one-stop shop for the grocery and spirit needs. We project we can increase our sales or increase the sales to 1.7 million, which is about a 20% increase over the prior year. We plan to do this by extending the hours and the days of service with great customer service. We will have spirits for sale from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m., 364 days of the year. We'll offer greater linear feet of space to have a bigger selection and more variety. Next slide. One of the things we focus on definitely is to prevent the theft of liquor in the department, which is a little bit of a concern when you have a store within a store type of environment. But we make sure we staff with clerks that are engaging with customers, and we offer great customer service. Cashiers and clerks are trained at quarterly on refresher training on what to look out for when it comes to theft and prevention of selling to minors. We have cameras within the departments, and the department is always manned. Let's see, next slide. This is kind of what the department would, or the store would look like. Here you've got a mock-up of our store where we put liquor on the front of it. And then we have a road sign where we've added liquor to the bottom of it. So when you're driving by, you'll clearly see the liquor is available within the grocery store. Next slide. And this is an overhead layout of our store. In the top left, you can see that is where we'd be adding the liquor department. So when you first enter the store, closed off would be the liquor store within a store. And it just kind of gives you the overlay there. Next slide, please. And then this is the department itself. And it kind of shows you the planned entrance there is much like our sister's location, provides a choke point that can be locked off when not attended, but really giving that store within a store feel. So when you're in there and you're shopping, you've got a full environment, then you can go on, purchase your liquor needs, and then move in to get your grocery items. Next slide. We'd be using black shelving throughout the department, 22-inch shelving, an island in the center that would be 4 shelves high. And then we use, on the perimeter, we use 5 shelves high. And then we create with shelving, kind of a wall between us and the other part of the grocery store. There's only 4 shelves high, and then we use plexiglass glass on the top. So people can still see in, but you can't actually get into the department or reach over to grab anything. Next slide. And we use a lot of lighting in the department, overhead lighting, to provide just a good feel. So you see all of the product is the star in the department and not the shelving. Next slide. We use cherry fixtures throughout the department. We would have locking cabinets for the mini bottles, 375 bottles, and all the high-end liquor. End caps on the islands that would focus on local spirits and seasonal merchandising and promotional items. We have glass doors and a glass door refrigerator, so you can see items in there. There's pretty big demand in this area for refrigerated, like the Fireball and a lot of other items in talking to the previous owner. And then we use wood barrels throughout the department that have shelves in them to also merchandise. Next slide. We do a lot of overheads, calling out, what we have in the departments and the sections.
1 minute.
And we use local made signs. Next slide. This is the example decor where we have pictures of the local Caves National Park. Next slide. This is the estimated cost that we have, which all funds are available. Next slide. So in summary, this location will be convenient to the public and provide today's shopper with a true one-stop shop. We would offer longer hours and more hours of operations for the community. This would be added revenue for financial growth for the OLCC, Shop Smart, and our employee owners. We've been successful for our other 4 locations with sales growth. C&K Market would operate Cave Junction Liquor in its current environment until we move into our next location. And the department is able to expand with growth, so we can still improve on that and make this department bigger in the future. And we'll be offering employee ownership to all the current employees of the existing liquor store.
Make your closing
And the next
statement,
slide. And that's just the timeline, and then the next slide is just the product allocation and just other information for you guys to have for businesses around. That's it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Questions?
You have, is that the store and Ray's that you have
Yeah,
in Sisters?
yeah,
Okay,
we have Ray's and Shop Smart are our banners.
Okay, that's where I live. Nice store. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Why do you want to add this store to your?
Why do I want to add liquor here? It's a great asset to our business. I mean, it's a true one-stop shop. We have a lot of customers that look for that. You know, we'd like to offer a lot of items. You know, it's one of our big things that we do. We want to give our customers that option, you know, to come and shop. It's added revenue, it's added profitability, it's expanding our business, and it's the right thing to do for my business.
All right. Thank you. Nice presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
Chair Rosenbaum.
Any other commissioner?
So are you an ESOP?
We are.
Thank you.
What did you say?
This is an employee-owned store, so ESOP.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Chair, one of the things that stuck out to me in the supplemental questions, both for you, and it's unfortunate that Bruce couldn't be here because he's going to be the person running the day-to-day, correct?
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have him here with you if he's running the day-to-day.
Okay.
But one of the things that stands out to me when asked, you know, how many hours a week you plan on devoting on site, you say 1 to 2 hours. Bruce, who's your day-to-day guy, your day-to-day operations guy, says 10 hours. Can you kind of explain that?
Yeah, so we'll have a department manager that he'll be in charge of basically make sure that it's full, that it's clean, it's set up right, that we're offering good service. And then Bruce, as a store manager or store director in this case, he's in charge of going in and making sure that everything's running correctly and that it's being done properly. He oversees the meat department, the produce department, the front end, and making sure that everything in the store is operating smoothly. And typically he's on the sales for about 6 hours of his day is around just making sure everything's operating. And we'll be in the department the time that he's working in there, just make sure things right. He's in there periodically, making sure things are happening. And his assistant manager would be doing the same thing on his days off. And it's just a lot of oversight.
This is an employee-owned business, right?
We are, yeah.
So do you have any idea what percentage Bruce owns of the company?
I don't, but as a store manager, he's going to have a higher stake in it. I'm going to say it's probably, I think store managers it's based upon how long you've been with the company, as well as what your annual wage is. His stocks are probably right around 20,000 shares, I think.
What's the outstanding shares in the corporation?
Outstanding shares right now.
Yeah.
I think are right around 600,000.
600,000, so what, do you have any idea what?
The outstanding shares to be offered or total shares given out.
Well, it's a private company, isn't it?
It is, yes. So, but we still have some out.
How many shares are outstanding? Meaning not the ones in whatever you call it, the outstanding shares. How many shares do the company employees own?
I think it's right around 2.5 million. I wouldn't be the best person to answer that, honestly. It's right around 2.5 million.
Well, let me ask you this question. How many shares do you own?
I own 86,000.
Out of 2.5 million?
Yeah.
And do you have any idea what Carl Wasserman owns?
I do not know.
Okay, so, the shares do you have any idea how many shares not issued yet?
That's right around 600,000 still for oncoming employees.
10,000?
600,000.
600,000.
Yeah.
So there's roughly 2.5 million shares and Bruce owns 10,000?
I think it's right around
20,000.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Okay, next up, Presley Christensen. Presley, come on up. There you are.
Thank you.
So go ahead and state your name for the record, and our timekeeper, Commissioner Revolt, will get you started.
Okay. Good morning, Chairperson Rosenbaum and respected commissioners. My name is Presley Christensen, and I'm honored to be here today to demonstrate my qualifications and the commitments I'm prepared to make to better the Cave Junction Liquor Store. And I really feel this is the perfect size liquor store for an entry-level agent such as myself. Next slide, please. My husband, Ryan Christensen, and I live in Southern Oregon, where we raise our 2 children. I graduated from Portland State University for business management and leadership, and I've grown up working in the hospitality industry in a number of bars and restaurants. where I captured my love for hospitality and a fast-paced workplace. I've held many positions, including bar management, where I was in charge of safe and responsible serving, education and management of bar staff, maintaining inventory, and designing cocktail menus. I come from a family of high achievers and entrepreneurs, all inspired by the example of our hardworking parents, Patrick and Gretchen Boris, who own and operate 2 liquor stores in Southern Oregon, Ashland and downtown Grants Pass. I've worked in both stores for many years and I've learned every aspect of running a successful liquor store. I'd like to think that I was destined to work in the liquor business since I was a young girl. I am confident in my unique level of experience to now run my own store, which I only hope to provide for and instill in a similar entrepreneurial spirit in my children. Next slide, please. My responsibilities currently include daily deposits, submitting weekly, monthly, and yearly reports to the OLCC, overseeing freight, which in Grants Pass, this is over 900 cases and upwards to $180,000 worth of inventory on a weekly basis. Filling bar orders, balancing the store's checkbooks, ensuring all receipts are accounted for and properly cataloged, and participating in the yearly pre-audits. While I intend to always support my parents in their businesses, I know that I now have the necessary experience, knowledge, drive, and vision, and their blessing to move the Cave Junction Liquor Store into the next decade. Next slide. By appointing me as the agent for Cave Junction, you'll be appointing a full-time owner-operator agent. My husband, who is a helicopter pilot and fights fire for the Forest Service, works short-term.
I've stopped.
Did he stop retiring? Right there.
I got my first rodeo.
No worries, thank you. I look forward to putting him to work. We understand the importance of being hands-on with the everyday operations and believe in running the store ourselves, along with a trusted existing team in Cave Junction, and feel this will better serve the community. Many Cave Junction bars and restaurants are serviced by this store. Any liquor licensee knows this takes time, effort, and great communication. I'm committed to maintaining and strengthening existing relationships and building relationships with new accounts so that they can be educated about the product and expand their offerings to their patrons. This type of service grocery and/or convenience stores lack, as liquor is not their primary business. They don't have the ability to provide full service. The nearest standalone liquor store from Cave Junction is in Grants Pass, which is 35 minutes away. Cave Junction businesses need and deserve the support of a full service store. Next slide. Our mission statement and goal for the Cave Junction Liquor Store is to promote the responsible sale of distilled spirits to the community, provide friendly, prompt, and prompt customer service to all of our patrons, and strive to meet every need of the consumer in a pleasing shopping environment. We commit to managing the OLCC's inventory responsibly and doing everything in our power to keep alcohol out of reach of minors. Next slide. My vision for the Cave Junction Liquor Store, store relocation and expansion. The store is currently located on the 199, which is heavily trafficked highway for travelers to the Oregon coast. I intend to find a location that maintains the high accessibility and visibility for both the community and its travelers. An increase in square footage would allow for increased inventory and would lead to better customer satisfaction and increased volumes and sales. I'm currently working with a commercial real estate agent to accomplish this. I intend to find a long-term location that has good curb appeal and is attractive and inviting to customers with room to grow and expand our offerings. Next slide. In the short term and until a new location can be secured, I will make improvements such as install new bold exterior signage, improve lighting, modernize the checkout counter, create category signs, and organize, declutter, and replace product shelving. It's a little slow, but bring in products that are new, trending, and seasonal and requested by customers, and create a Made in Oregon section showcasing our many locally crafted spirits. All products will be merchandised and displayed in an easy to shop manner that informs and impacts choices and generates sales. Without taking focus away from distilled spirits, I will expand the non-liquor products such as soda, mixers, beer, wine, and cigarettes, and explore the possibility of offering full-service lottery, resulting in a more one-stop shop for the community. Expanded hours. The store is currently open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7. I intend to increase these hours. And then the POS system. The store is currently running an RSI software program, which is old and outdated. I'm familiar with the CAMDS software, which is used in both Grants Pass and Ashland. I will explore the possibility of switching this software for the store in the short term. To conclude, next slide, please. The current agent, Jeanette Montgomery, has proudly owned and operated this store for over 20 years. And along with her trusted staff, has served her customers, bars, restaurants, and the greater Cave Junction community exceptionally well. I am proud that she has demonstrated her full confidence in me by writing a letter of recommendation, in the hopes that I will continue to build upon her legacy as a family-owned and operated standalone entity. Excuse me. If chosen, my family and I hope to give the store another 20+ years of attention and dedication. Chairperson Rosenbaum and commissioners, I appreciate your time and consideration. I know that I have what it takes to run this store. I do this job every day and I'm good at it. I'm very confident in my experience within the industry and in liquor stores that are significantly larger than this one. And I hope you give me the opportunity to prove to you, the OLCC, that my family and I can operate this store successfully. Thank you.
You have a whole minute left.
Thank you.
Okay. I can keep going. I can keep
So-
going.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Any
you.
questions?
Yes, yeah. You've mentioned in your application that you've got $78,000 to
Yeah.
apply
Yeah.
for this. And that seems pretty thin. I mean, it's right there at the number, and you said you had other funds available.
Yeah.
What are those other funds? Can you?
Yeah, so we will be self-funded. I just submitted enough to cover what was required. But we have enough funds. I've talked to Jeanette, the outgoing agent, about what her related inventory looks like, and all of the things that go along that might not be accurately projected on the OLCC's projections. And we have enough funds and are ready to operate right away.
But what is the source of other funds though?
We're still self-funded. So we have self-funds over the 78,000
Yeah, but
that
we're
I just
looking-
put on the
We're looking
application.
for specifics.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, they're in the bank account. Like,
Very good.
yeah, like over 120, somewhere around there, 120,000
Is
that we're
that-
willing to put towards this store.
Is that in addition to the 78?
No, that's,
That's total.
yeah, but I feel that with the store now, even though I am looking for relocation, this is a plenty of amount of funds. Her business now is very little related, mixers. Even though I intend to do this, I will buy out what she has and I will build upon that in the coming months to be able to expand more to the community. But I feel that the funds that we have are sufficient, definitely, for this. I mean, it's the amount of income going out for this store, since it is very small, is very little. So I feel that we definitely can meet that and suffice, go about that, yeah.
Any other questions?
Brian, you have some information that we can question you about later? About funding?
At what's in the materials is what has been shown, so that would be at the request of you from them.
Thank you.
Well, I think we hit it right on the nose. You're very energetic.
Thank you.
We're looking to increase the volume of the stores. We're looking for people who are going to be there for a long period of time.
Yes,
And we're also looking for the financial stability. Those questions that Commissioner Doherty asked you is on all our minds.
yeah,
The 72,000 in our opinion, and it may differ from staff's opinion, is not enough. The 128,000 is, in my mind, questionable. The question I have asked for you, do you have additional sources beyond that you can have?
I mean, yeah, I have very gracious family that is willing to support me in this. And I feel like, we're gonna really give it everything. It'll be our business, and we're willing to put everything forward for this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, last applicant for Cave Junction is Jimmy Sue. Come on up, Jimmy.
Morning.
Morning. After those two, my presentation looked kind of childish. My new strategy for Cape Junction store is really to buy a new building and build a new building and keep the existing storefront for now. Next slide, taking over the existing storefront, long-term strategy and short-term goal. Next slide. Our long-term goal is to obviously grow the business, and liquor sales would greatly improve with a broader inventory and being able to support a new building after a year or two of business with bank funding to build one. Next slide. The present situation, Jeanette has done a great job. She's in a 1,100 square foot building. I used to rent the space next to her. The store is undersized and limited in space. There is no opportunity to go next door. So a new building or a new space is the only available choice besides there's no exception. The owner have done an excellent job in the past 2 decades, have outgrown the location. There's a wooden shelf in the store, and there's no beer, wine, or ice in the store. The shelf is 4 shelf per unit. We plan to increase that. Next slide. The current owner is retiring. The current owner family suffered some family and medical issues. So the past 7 years, she has dedicated a little less time, effort, and energy to the store, and she's done a wonderful job, but she's kind of past it and looking towards retirement. The owner had tripled the business. Next slide. The immediate changes we would do is change the Kelly Meyer system. I used to own the Gold Beach liquor store, and that's the system we were running. And we have kind of like that system, so we would go towards that system. We would be adding mixers, adding ice should increase the sales, and adding off-premise licensed beer and wine for more one-stop shopping. Next slide. Adding an ice merchandiser will give off some more increase in profitability that they don't have right now. They are limited because, like I said, Jeanette has done a wonderful job, but she has begun her retirement a little early, and she is well prepared for retirement now. Next slide. Immediate changes would be flooring should be changed and modernized to help the aesthetic of it. The shelving unit should be changed to 84 inches so that you could utilize the top of the ceiling as storage. So that will add 15% more space to it immediately. Changing the counter will allow us to display the 50 milliliters without any customers being able to have access. Back shelf should be changed to all display of half pints and quarter pints in the back. Next page. The flooring, I gave samples and the counter, I gave a sample. The front of this one is not accurate. It's supposed to be displayed for 50 milliliters, but it's the only stock photo I got. The next shelving I got is next page is shelving, and it kind of gets the sense of where I'm going with it is to go to the top shelf for more storage space in the meantime before I get to the next building. But the whole point is to get to the next building. So we want a 4,000 to 5,000 square foot building. I've been in Cape Junction stores. I own Speedy Mart, so our vision had been to take the liquor store to the next level. Long term, we're buying a property and building a new building in the next 2 years. New building should be about 4,000 5,000 square feet. Forecast that the new space should increase liquor sales, would increase 40% the first year, 6 to 10% the following 3 years afterwards. Next page, a rough drawing of what our new store would look like. This is a 5,000 square foot model. The front counter, the shelving units are all supposed to be for liquor. Walk-in coolers all along the side and a walk-in freezer. And then next page, a visualization of what the store would kind of look like, a standalone store, liquor store.
Yeah.
Next page, my vision for the store is
1 minute.
immediate changes from 10 a.m. Open from 10 a.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Friday and Saturday, adding 16 camera system, and ice merchandiser and shelving units I have already ready to go. So putting in new flooring. I used to own Speedy Mart in Cape Junction, and I took it from a $600,000 business to a $2.1 million in sales.
Mayor,
at the time of sale.
please.
I'm very confident to, given the opportunity I could be in to deliver similar results and very responsible liquor agent.
Thank you.
Any questions?
You've talked about all these improvements and you show you have $147,000, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Available. What are the cost of these improvements? So building a new building, where do you see that money coming from and how much do you?
I currently own one building, completely free and clear.
Okay.
I also own 10 million in real estate, roughly around there, depending on the market. We also have an additional 500,000 in the market. So a net worth of 5.5 to 6 million. So financially, I could do it.
So why didn't you put it down?
Yeah.
The 5.5 to 6 million.
No, the 500,000 at least.
In the stock market is in our this is the funds that I'm immediately throwing to it, and the stock the market one is in a retirement plan. So I don't want access to those because the money that's accessed right now is in the 457 plan. I separated from business the OLCC, and those funds are immediately available without penalty. The other ones have penalty involved. I don't want to have.
And of course, all your real estate is liquid right now, right?
I have one store completely free and clear, so it would be as simple as saying, you know what, I'm going to do a wrap loan to have both buildings collateralized to build a new building, and I'm pretty sure my broker or my agent banker will allow that to happen.
Quick question. Jimmy, Thank you for your presentation. Quick question, do you live in Glendale or do you live in Cave Junction?
I actually live in Rogue River.
Rogue
That's
River.
in between Glendale and Cape Junction, somewhat right by Grants Pass, about 8 miles from Grants Pass.
So what would that be, about a 45-minute drive?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have, so are you currently own the Speedy Mart in Glendale?
Yeah.
Do you have any other businesses that you currently on day-to-day operations on?
Day-to-day operations, not really. I operate as the CEO, but I'm
Mhm.
really a stay-at-home dad. So,
Stay home dad. is that what
yeah,
you're doing?
and I'm kind of getting to the area where my kids are getting older and they don't want to hang out with me. So I gotta find something to do with my life. So, I do have all these business, but I don't have any dedicated time to any of these business because they're all managed by other people. I mostly run the kids back and forth, baseball practice, cheerleading practice, wherever they tell me I have to go.
Gotcha. I very well understand that. Very well. So tell me, how much do you plan on devoting to this?
Well,
liquor store?
6 to 8 hours a day. But I do have an office in Cape Junction right now. We manage my real estate portfolio there.
Okay.
They do manage all the pricing, they manage all the other stores there too. I go in there in between my kids telling me, school days and whatever else they wanted to do, I go there right when they go to school. So,
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Chair, I just had one question.
sure.
On this Oregon Savings Growth Plan, the money that you have, so are you expecting that, my understanding that's retirement?
well, that's a 457 plan.
Okay.
So 457 plan have a little nuance to it in change to a 401k. 401k, if you try to take it out, you get penalized for it, 10% penalty. Well, 457, as soon as you separate business from your employer, you can have access to those funds without any penalty. You'll pay a tax on it without any penalty. And that really,
Just the taxes.
yep. So 20% of the taxes will be withheld, but honestly, it was funds from the Gold Beach operations, all of it. And I never took any money out of it. So it's all just from Gold Beach, that liquor store I ran. And, and for the Gold Beach store, we roughly doubled the business. And I left all that money just sitting there because, it's really not, I want to have employees and sustainable. And, quite frankly, my kids are my life besides the business. I'm just saying in 5 more years, I'm not gonna have a life if I don't find something else to do.
So my final comment, not so much directed to you, but we're as a group, been exposed to a lot of new opportunities for new stores and existing stores. And I think it's safe to say that we're very interested in upgrading the existing stores and making sure the new stores are sufficient enough to increase volume and revenue to the maximum extent. Now, consequently, what I'm about to say is not directed to you, but everybody who's interested should listen to this, is that whatever the minimum requirements are, I would highly suggest that you don't put those minimum requirements in. That when you come in here and you talk about what you're going to do, this commission automatically increases that minimum requirement to something that's reasonably possible to get to where you want to go. Did I say that okay? Okay. So the commissioners will now go into executive session to deliberate on the agent selection pursuant to the authority of ORS 192.6602 sub A. If there are members of the media present, representative of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. Representative of the media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decisions may be made in the executive session. We will return to open session in this room. We are back in session. Commissioner Doherty.
Yes, I move to appoint Presley Christensen as the permanent agent at store 1138 Cave Junction, effective January 4th, 2023.
Congratulations.
You're supposed to vote on this?
Yes, I think we.
A lot of crying.
Commissioner Curran,
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Jovan Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Miletus,
Yes.
Commissioner Revolt,
Yes.
Chair Rosenbaum.
Yes. Congratulations.
Now we-
Congratulations.
Okay. Chair Rosenbaum, Commissioners, next up, we have the Hillsborough TV Highway location. 5 applicants for you to see. This comes as a result of Glenn Bartlett's resignation, agent for 22 years for OLCC. Volume today, $0.6 million. Sorry, my computer's giving me fits. Now it's going. Okay. First applicant today is Thomas Burgess. Tom, come up, please state your name for the record. As well, everybody that's in this round, Commissioner Revolt will be your timekeeper today. And so with that said, go ahead, Tom, get started.
Hello, I'm Thomas Burgess. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. Hello, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to present my proposals for the liquor store vacancy at Loa TV Highway. I'm excited for this opportunity to better serve the citizens of Oregon. I am presenting proposals for both filling the vacancy and ultimately moving the store to a larger, more accessible location. My short-term goal is to temporarily transform, refreshen the existing business location and add modest beer and wine. My ultimate vision is to transform the Loa TV Highway into a destination store. First slide, thank you. A little bit about myself. I'm a husband, father of 4 daughters. I have 22 years of beverage experience and marketing experience. 2 years ago, when COVID hit, my wife and I decided to make some changes in our careers. I wanted to stop working for a large corporation and build a business of my own, have something for me and my family and my kids. I was courted by Robert Babin, the owner of the State Line Liquor Store at Enchanted Beach, number 1201, to become the general manager. From then, I learned the retail side of beverage sales. I was given unfettered access to all operations and control the state's largest volume consumer walk-in liquor store. Next slide. Why the Loa TV Highway Liquor Store? The store has underperformed for years. It has potential. It really does. It's right off TV Highway outside of Portland, situated between Loa and Hillsborough, and a quarter mile from Intel's corporate headquarters. By adding systems and procedures in place for employees, cleaning up the place, the attitude of the store will increase sales. Using my experience and expertise in merchandising will grow profits for this store. I was also raised in Aloha and I graduated from Aloha High School. The area has grown up in leaps and bounds, and this store should be functioning at about a $5 million a year store. Next slide. These are the current pictures of the store. As you can see, the windows are all covered up. It's in disarray, it's disorganized. Next slide. The exterior of the building is nice and it can be cleaned up. There is certain problems with gondolas in front of the cash registers that aren't really accessible, or they're hard for customers to navigate around. Next slide. Basically, there is one high-end cabinet in the store and it is overflowing. Just wanted to show you some general pictures of what I've got to work with. Next slide. The front of the store actually has had customers walk in the store thinking it was a plant store because it's just so cluttered with plants in the front. We'll go on to the next slide. So my business plan and overview. The current store is adequate size at 3,113 square feet. The store is, however, dark, dingy, bad paint, outdated fixtures, an outdated POS system, and poor security cameras, only about 13 right now. I would immediately, on December 1st, change the point of sale system, add lighting, add new security cameras, purge the store of all clutter. Additionally, I can improve the space efficiency of the back room. I can add gondolas and racking to the areas to increase selection of distilled spirits and make it available for the customers. The pricing of the related items needs to be addressed to improve profitability. Pricing is all over the board in this store. I will meet with the current staff and start training immediately on customer service and systems to make the store run more efficiently. Next slide.
Applicants, the same question is, what specific information did you rely on to analyze the present situation in this store?
I have, as a beverage salesman, I went into this store for the last 15 years. I've seen the store perform at its past location, and I've seen the store perform at its current location. So as far as sales and how I feel that this store can increase in sales, is that the question you're
No.
asking? Okay.
My question is, what information, specific information, if any, did you rely on to analyze the present situation of the store? Did you have data of any sort that you could look at?
Sir, I had no P and L. I had no 3 years of tax records to relate to. I'm taking this on my belief that I can run this store effectively for the state of Oregon and make money for me and my family, and off of my knowledge of everything that I have as a business operator. I had nothing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
sir.
it.
I got a quick question. Did I see that you are proposing the new location has got 5,000 to 10,000 square feet?
I do.
What are you gonna do with all that space? That is a lot of space.
Well, I have a lot of good friends that are agents that have shown me that it is very profitable to spend money on your stores. And it is very profitable to expand the selection, add areas for training classes, things like that inside your store that you can draw in the general consumer to participate in the spirits experience, such as classes. You'd be surprised how many people don't know how to make a mixed cocktail, that don't, I mean, COVID taught us a lot of things that we always relied on these bartenders for to make us a cocktail. And when people didn't have that, they came into our stores in droves over the last 2 years, searching and wanting to know more about and be more educated. And I believe that if you have the space, you can always fill it with plenty of product and ways to make money off that too. So.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
You got a question? This is the time to do it.
I was wondering how he's gonna make that work financially with the new building and staffing it.
Staffing has been hard for the last couple of years. I'm not going to say that it's not going to be easy to staff a large building, but I also believe in having, right now at my current location, I have over 37 cameras in the store that I have to maintain and watch and make sure that, you know, there's no theft and problems like that. It's just working around the situation. Allowing myself to have a nice back room, grow my business. I want to see this succeed. This has been my passion in my life.
Chair, Commissioners, if I may, so you'll see some proposals for moving. We're not going anywhere for 18 months. There's an assumable lease, and so that's
Right.
what they're proposing for the future.
Got it.
We got about 18, 19 months remaining on
No,
this
we know.
lease.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay.
Good presentation.
Good presentation.
Well done.
Okay, next is gonna be Chahal Investments, Ravinder. Come on up.
Good morning.
Good
Respected
morning.
chairpersons. Thank you for consideration. So next slide.
Your name.
So.
There it is.
So
Okay.
I'm Ravinder Pal Singh, 42 years old and have been married for last 15 years. I completed my bachelor's in automobile engineering in 2001. So I have a 20 years of management experience, including 6+ years of retail management experience as a convenience store and a gas station manager. In 2020, I started my own business under DBA Glenwood Food Mart, that is a convenience store. It was a failed business and closed location. So I have been managing this business for last 3 years. So now in last 3 years, now we are doing at least more than $150,000 in the monthly sale. So this is all possible because the help of my wife, she's here. So we devoted almost 17 hours a day.
Excuse me.
Yeah, come on up.
Please, thank you. So we devoted almost 17 hours a day, no day off, 6 months to make this business success. And now by the blessing of God, we are doing really great, $150,000 in monthly sales. Next slide, please. So planned changes is business operation at existing location. So this will be a family-owned business. Our top priority will be the selling alcohol responsibly. Then it will be a focus on more customer service and generate more revenue. So our plan is to expand the business hours, that is Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So that if we expand our hours, we will sell more alcohol and we will generate more business. And my plan for Sunday is 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. So right now, this building has no coolers, so no beer and wine. So my plan is to add approximate 15 doors to accommodate a variety of beer, wine, and mixer. Make store more visible by adding additional bright signs outside. We are going to install a 32-channel motion detection security camera system. We are going to upgrade the current POS system to a KMDS with built-in ID scanner. Me and my wife will be devoting at least 60 to 70 hours weekly to build a relationship with the vendors and customers. And we are going to add additional light fixtures to brighten up the store, because right now the store is not bright enough so that people can see it. Next slide, please. So that's my plan for the 15 doors of coolers. That's my vision. Next slide, please. So this is the upgrading cost on the existing location. It will be approximate $87,000. Next slide, please. So our plan is to move the business at new location. So the new location will be at least 5,500 square feet to 6,000 square foot location nearby with better parking and easy access. We are going to install a big walk-in cooler with at least 20 doors and big beer cave, so that we can keep all the bigger packages behind in the beer cave, so that we have enough room to add more wine, mixer, 6 packs of local beers, and those kind of things. We are going to install a variety of light fixtures such as spotlights, LEDs to brighten up the store. We are going to install 3 POS systems on the new location for faster and smoother checkout experience for the customer. And we are going to install LCD screens with live camera feed to prevent shoplifting. Next slide, please. So this is my vision for the new location. It will be very spacious, modern liquor store with huge selection of liquor, beer, wine, mixer, snacks, so that it will be a one-stop shop for the customers. Next slide, please. This is my vision for the checkout counters with 3 POS system with pints and small containers in the back with cigarettes in the back. So that's my vision for the counter. Next slide, please. And this is my vision for the walk-in cooler with at least 20 doors to accommodate more beer, wine, mixers, those kind of things, and soft drinks and sodas to make it a one-stop shop. Next slide, please. And this is my vision for the beer cave, so that all the bigger packages we can accommodate in the back, so that we don't need to restock all the time. And we have more room in the walk-in cooler to accommodate more wine and mixers. Next slide, please. And this is the cost for the new location startup cost. That will be, so some of the stuff we are going to move from the existing location, like inventory, shelving, and POS systems. Next slide, please. And this is the new startup location cost. Next slide, please. Thank you for your consideration.
You got 2 minutes left.
So that will be a family-owned business, and we are going to dedicate a lot of hours because we have really good retail experience, because we already proved it by make that business I own right now to make it a success, because it was a failed business. It was closed from last 5 years. Now I am paying the rent to the landlord and we are enjoying our good life.
Question? Thank you for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
I actually have 2 questions.
Yes.
You did such a fantastic job with your current business. That's your
Yes,
whole
that's
business.
blessing of God, yes, and support of my wife.
Of course. So, how do you plan on keeping that trajectory with that business?
No,
If
that business is already doing great. We have a 4 employees right now. So we just go to that business when there is a ordering day.
Mhm.
We spend some hours. I'm not saying we are not spending hours because we go at least we spend 6 days over there, but my employees are good. We are doing really great. So we just go to do bank deposit, track on lotteries and ordering. Those days, we prefer to be there. So
do-
now,
Do you fill in if someone is sick or?
yes. So I have a manager there. They are doing really great. So she's also going to help in one business and I'm going to spend our time on another business. So that business is already doing really great. So we just need to supervise it.
So when do you plan on moving this?
So
Awarded it.
if I'm selected, then I'll start looking, because right now there is a lease for 18 months. So meanwhile, we will start looking at bigger location nearby where it's suitable for the OLCC closer by. So we will move after that lease pretty soon then. Yes.
Thank you.
We chatted at the liquors agent conference, right?
Yes, sir, also.
And your buddies were the baseline guys or the Cornell guy? Or-
Cornell Sunny.
That's right. Okay, yeah, they're good guys. Cool. I just trying to remember.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna ask you the same question. What specific data or information did you obtain about this present store to make
So
your
I got
decision?
all the information so that I got in mail, all the information about the existing business that's provided by the OLCC, the monthly sales and revenue they are generating. So we are really confident we are going to increase the revenue.
Thank you.
No doubt in that.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. I'll ask Brian the question at the end, but thank you.
Chair?
Yeah.
I may be wrong, but when I was going through your application, I thought I recalled you in one of your answers saying that you worked for or managed a liquor store at one point. Is that?
So my friend owned a liquor store, so I
Oh.
help him, the corner liquor store when they are short of stuff, and I know how to use that KMDS system. I know changing the tags every month and we have to change tags. We all hopefully go because it's a lot of work on those days. So we spend time on liquor store every month and with Sunny, my friend, changing tags. Sometimes they need help when they get deliveries. So
Okay, so you had some, because when I saw your. brief-
Yes,
it was
yes.
listed as work.
I helped Sunny a lot. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. What is the,
Well, now we're getting questions. We get started and now we get questions.
Yes.
what is the side revenue of your existing store that you operate?
So right now we are doing $150,000 a monthly sale. So my profit margin is pretty much 35 to 40% because we sell a lot of fishing bait, fishing supplies, and those things are really good revenue products. So camping supplies, firewoods, because it's an outdoor activity store and people, when they do camping, they don't care about money. Because they are on vacation.
I hope not too many of your clients are listening.
Yeah, so it's really a good revenue business. That's why we succeeded in last 2 years. And right now in my convenience store, I have more beer than Fred Meyer and Bingo.
If you want to kick him to keep him from talking.
And the clients are really high profile clients there. Initially, I started with the cheap wine. It doesn't sell. Now my wine bottle is $35 to $40 and people buys that. So it's really a good revenue business.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, I have James Newman. James, come on up.
I like that title, Left Coast Beverage.
Thank you.
Yeah, I see it.
There we go.
Ready to go.
Good morning, Chair Rosenbaum and Commissioners. My name is James Newman. I'm applying to be the agent, and that's gonna be our family business. So I want to let my wife Lindsay in presentation with us today. Next slide.
Thank you for having us today. For the record, my name is Lindsay Newman. I'm especially excited about this potential for a family business because I actually come from a family business. I originally grew up in Kentucky, so I would even say I have a little bit of bourbon in my blood. But having grown up in my family's restaurant, customer service has been ingrained in me for a very long time, and I would even consider it part of my lifestyle. We also did the food service at Jim Beam, where I acquired a really deep appreciation for the liquor and beverage industry. And I know how important it is to the Kentucky local economy. And now with our shared passion, I know how important it is also to the state of Oregon.
I started in the business about 13 years ago, working for Gallo Sales Company in their management development program. Worked my way up through different roles as district manager in Sacramento, Northern California, as well as in Nevada. And then I moved to Oregon in 2015 as a field marketing manager for Gallo Winery as a liaison calling on distributors. I've been in my current role for the last 6 years. I'm the vice president and general sales manager of the Spirits West brokerage for Southern Ledgers Wine and Spirits. I oversee 76 different suppliers, 21 employees across the state. Our retail annual sales are $260 million for the OLCC, and about 1 of every 3 bottles sold comes from our division. I've had some amazing mentors along the way. One of them happens to be my predecessor, Jesse Stafford, who's allowed me to shadow him in his account, volunteer in his store, and get a hands-on understanding of what it takes to run the day-to-day operations in the liquor store. Next slide, please. Our mission statements are pillar. We want to provide an inviting and safe environment to securely sell a wide selection of distilled spirits to customers and licensee accounts, all while building a lasting relationship with our community and customers through superior service, selection, and education. And now let's see you guys to the store. Next slide, please. I hate to say it, we spent actually many date nights going to the store and making our plan and developing our business model. I realized that the current store is taking up 3 different retail spaces, and it was not a clearly defined entrance. And we watch people struggle going into different doors. So we want to stop that and clearly define the entrance of the store, window wrap the outside with our logo decal to clean up that curb appeal. And we want to keep that door open longer. Next slide, please. So we want to open an additional 18 hours a week, essentially 2 additional operating days. There's a 15-minute limit parking sign on the outside, and that will be removed immediately. Next slide.
So now we want to take you into the store. We really want to create a warm and inviting experience as our customers walk in. We want to make some upgrades to the lighting and also the register counter. We would even add a 3rd register as well as a larger beverage cooling system to offer chilled beer, wine, and a wider array of RTDs and canned cocktails.
Yeah. Next slide. I want to review our vision for the layout of the store. As Lindsay had mentioned, we want to upgrade our beverage cooling center, if you will. We want to drive customers into our store and around the racetrack, passing by high-pass, high-pause displays of premium priced items to grow that cart ring and again, grow the overall retail sales. We want to add the 3rd register and extend the counter. And 2 important callouts we want to add on here is we have 2 dedicated doors to cold canned cocktails, spirit-based cocktails, as well as a locked cabinet for the higher end items, again, to generate additional revenue. On the right side of the store, that's the backstock area. I think it's important to call out that we want to have a dedicated space to quickly and accurately pick on-premise orders and have that, again, a dedicated space to do so. Next slide, please. I feel the revenue piece and knowing the business is our competitive advantage. To answer your question, Chair Rosenbaum, I do have access to diver data, and in my current position, I have access to proprietary software that collects that to give us a better understanding of the market overall.
Will you stop them for a second in terms of timing? You're the only one who, to your exact words is, I have analyzed store data, which I caught, okay? It was deep inside your thing, but I caught it. Will you go into a little bit of detail on what decisions you made on that and what information you got and what decisions you made on that?
I would love to do that. Our data is extremely granular. So we have overall a macro view of the total state in my current position, and I have account level data. I've been able to analyze account 1239's data. I've identified the gap in the state's overall growth trends versus account 1239's. Currently, there's an 11.7% gap in that growth. Again, in all major categories, in addition to the overall sales growth, the store is down 11.7%. The two largest value generating categories are vodka and domestic whiskey. The two fastest generating revenue generating categories or growing categories right now are tequila and canned cocktails. I've analyzed that data and the gaps in the store's current business of the missing SKUs to close those gaps to meet the state's trends. The store has a selection that's decent at the moment. I feel that I've identified the items to make that better. And again, in the major categories that we could do immediately in the store in its current space.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Commissioner. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, we feel that there's a long runway in its current position of where the store is located on TV Highway. The store has a lot of potential where it currently is. Next slide, please.
So with the additional products coming in, we really want to make sure that we're keeping our customers up to date. So using, social media and marketing, and we'll drive engagement through interactive digital marketing for engagement and also retention. We also want to offer an easy to use website platform so that our licensee accounts can also place their orders.
Yep. Next slide. A quick overview of our budget and our proposed upgrades to the store. We know the POS system is outdated and we want to add that third register. We want to have a 9-door beverage center, if you will, in the store for craft beer, wine, and the RTD cocktails. We'll upgrade our security features from the store internally and externally, as well as adding an ID scanner for safe selling. New point of sale counter, updated interior lighting. We also want to subscribe to FinTech, which is an online platform that our licensee customers can purchase their product through to make that seamless and also increase retention for them. Next slide. A quick glimpse into our future. We know the on-premise is a major gap in the store's business. We want to make sure we have a branded van, and again, in the future, for safe delivery to our on-premise accounts free of charge. Next slide. We have an aggressive growth projection on our year one. Just to get, again, the store into the positive. The current rolling 12-month retail sales is right around $2.5 million. We feel that closing identified gaps in the key categories will close an additional $250,000. Our increased hours of operation or our marketing support, we feel is over $200,000. And our licensee sales, again, aggressive here, but I think it's obtainable, is $550,000 growth year one.
1 minute.
Bringing our total growth to $1 million to $3.5 million in sales total for the first year. Next slide, please. We feel that with our passion, understanding of the business and our knowledge to make the corrections in its current model, we do feel on behalf of our family that we're the right fit for the next store.
How old is the baby now?
3 months.
Congratulations. Smart putting it in there anyway.
When are you gonna have time then?
We have an amazing support system.
Okay. I was joking, but.
Any questions? Good job.
For it, NAPCO,
We have them.
still down the old neighborhood or you?
Right down in Wilsonville.
Nice.
Yes.
That's cool.
It is nice. Thank you.
Better for family.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we have Robert Boland.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, God, thank you.
Yes. Paper. Yeah.
And we'll,
It's the way it used to be done. Yeah.
okay, go ahead, when you're ready and timekeeper will cue you up.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Boland. I'll be presenting store at 1239 Hillsborough. On the next slide, I'll talk briefly about my retail experience. I spent 29 years with Safeway, started at 16, walked into my neighborhood Martin Luther King Safeway store and got a job. Worked my way up to district manager, where I oversaw 26 stores in the Portland metro area. We did about $10 million in weekly sales. We led the Portland division in customer service for 9 consecutive quarters. But more recently and more excitingly, I'm the liquor agent at store 1096 in Hillsborough. I've been there 3 years. We've had extreme growth in that store. We have a 5,000 square foot store right now. We have done beer and wine. We've expanded the beer and wine coolers to 1,200 varieties. But more excitingly, I've got a guest here today because I know you're probably going to ask me who's going to help with store 1096 if I get selected. And here to introduce herself is my daughter and manager.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley Boland. I'm the manager of store 1096. I just wanted to give a brief introduction. I have roughly 10 years of retail experience. I'm the first in my family to graduate college. And then soon after that, I interned at the OHSU Center for Women's Health. And then not a month later, my dad was able to receive store 1096, where I've been helping him and managing it ever since. And if I hadn't just purchased my first house this year, I'd hope that I could have been his competition today. But I'll draw your attention back to him.
Next slide, please. All right, next slide. This honestly is truly a family business. All 3 of my children work with me. Sorry. All 3 of my children work with me, and it's exciting to see. They live 12 minutes from the store. Like she said, she just bought a house. And it's exciting to work with my children every single day. Robert, my son, he's there right now running it, and I don't know if he's watching, but he pulled down the fort today. He's been there for 2.5 years, and then my youngest son just graduated high school, and he's been working part-time ever since. Okay, the next slide. Benefits of 2 stores. We are 8 minutes away from my store to this store. We have benefits from leveraging inventory overages that this store currently has. We can move inventory back and forth, and we can help with that. We can share best practices. We can cover sick calls. We can drive down there in an instant and be able to cover both stores. And then taking over December 1st is a big opportunity for anyone that gets this store. It's the busiest month of the year, but I have a dedicated team of 9 employees that are willing to help out. Along with, I've already met with the employees that are at the current location, and they're all eager to stay. Next slide, we've done a SWOT analysis of some of the strengths. They've got a knowledgeable staff. They've got established clientele. Hillsborough community is growing like crazy. So that's always exciting. Some opportunities with merchandising. I think a lot of other applicants have said this. Excessive inventory in the store. Product variety. They've got a great variety, I think, of liquor, but the beer and wine variety is a big opportunity for them. And then customer service. Looking at their Google reviews, they've had some big opportunities with that, and that's a strength of ours. So weaknesses, declining sales. The location is really in a tough spot as far as parking and accessibility. And then the licensee business is really non-existent. Some threats, retail expansion is always a threat. Back in 2019, Washington County had the retail expansion. It hit my store for about $2 million. It also hit this store. Although it was great for overall for the OLCC, individual stores did take a hit. On the next slide, my current vision for the current location: improve the vendor relationships, re-merchandise the store, expand beer and wine, add 26 camera security system, just do some general cleaning. And then social media, my daughter is amazing at it. She's done a great job with our social media, and she can head that up. On the next slide, I've already met with the landlord, already secured a tentative lease agreement to move it back to the location in 18 months where it is. It actually works perfect for the landlord to start construction in 2024. I've included a signed lease or tentative lease agreement in this example. So next slide, I'll just give you some visuals of where we're going with it. We're going to add a beer cooler. We'll add a tasting station. On the next slide, I'll give you a little bit better perspective of what we're all about and what our goal is to look at. On the next slide, estimated startup costs, bless you. And then on the next slide, the current hours of operation. We're going to extend the hours Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, basically every day of the week. On the next slide, securing assets. Like I said, the upgraded 26 camera security system. Review the emails from OLCC, engage in customer service. I think that is probably the best deterrent for that, just to make sure that all employees are out there engaging. Responsible vendor training. I personally do that with every new employee. I will continue to do that in both stores. I think it's that important. Secure high dollar items in a lockbox. On the next slide, just give you a flavor of what Hillsborough says about us and our business. We have great Google reviews. We've got great customers. We're a great part of the Hillsborough community already. My next slide, we have two lifelong friends of mine that felt compelled to write a letter of recommendation. Keith Johns, that owns Black Rose Liquor, wrote a letter of recommendation for us along with Steve at Milwaukee Premium Beverage. And then next slide is thank you, but I know you're going to ask some of these questions that I've included in your packet, our P&L from Hillsborough's Best Beverage to show you what we've done last year in profitability and what we're capable of doing this year in those 18 months leading up to making the move and getting additional funding for that. I've also included the letter of intent from the landlord on the new space that we're looking to move to. That space is actually the space that it used to be in when the store did $4 million a year. So it's got ample parking. It's a great location. It's easy to access. And thank you very much for your time. My daughter, my sons, appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Questions? No questions? All right, I got a couple then. First, the same question. You're a store owner. What did you do specifically to analyze this store? Where did you go? What information did you use?
Sure. So, so the easiest answer to that is using the information in my current store. I'm 8 minutes away. I know what our store sells. I know the variety of items that our sells. I've got the data from our vendors, our wine partners. They gave us some of that IRA data that we've been able to use to look specifically at what their gaps are that the previous agent talked about. They do have a very good offering in a lot of items. I think that the challenge there has been customer service in that store. Their service level has really.
How deep do you go down in the data? How much data is available for you to look at, actually?
So on the OLCC's website for liquor, there's a lot of data. So we can go on there and we can look at specific items. Correct, yeah. Yeah. Brian actually showed it to me a long time ago. Or a while ago.
Tableau on our dashboard. You
Yeah.
can get any story.
You can get any data. you
I
want.
know, I'm asking the question. You know I know that.
Yeah.
Okay, my second question is, just for my own curiosity. You're a store owner now. Let's say we give you this one, okay? So if you do as well as you expect to do, you could have close to 10 million in gross sales a year between the two stores or around there. Let's just say it doesn't matter. Does the fact that there's a possibility that this state, could change and the privatization issue comes into play, you'd be wiped out.
Absolutely.
So in your mind, does that keep you up at night? And more important, what did you ever think about doing about that? Or how could you help on that issue?
So, good question. I thought about that a long time. In fact, that scared me early on in my career with Safeway to go out on my own and do it. My admin was actually a liquor store agent at Russ Kelly for a long time. And they'd encouraged me to do that, to go into the liquor business. But I was always nervous about that fact of it coming to the grocery stores and putting you out of business, basically. That's always going to be a concern out there. I've sat in meetings, I've met with lobbyists on both sides. I know lobbyists on both sides, again, from my previous experience. I've been actively involved in getting to those meetings and talking about my position. They've asked me questions. Some of the Miletus family has asked me questions on my position and how we would maybe potentially partner up to kind of look at those things and go out there and talk about our perspective of being a family-owned business and how it would impact us.
Well, as chairman of this commission, I'm completely cognizant of what those problems are. And I addressed the store owners at their annual dinner. And I pointed out to them that this is a serious problem, that their futures are at stake. And it seems to me the store owners are not 100% behind the fact that they could lose their businesses entirely if privatization comes to this day. All I can do is point it out. I can't do anything else, but it seems to me that the store owners should at least be together on this thing. And, you know, that's what I'm asking you. I'm just asking you your opinion.
I agree. I think that from what I see being in the liquor business a short time, you have two types of owners. The owners that are maybe more competitive to their own detriment, instead of leaning on each other, like I showed you with, you know, some of the other liquor store agents that I'm partners with or friends with, and that we can band together and we can actually share ideas and we can do those things instead of being so much competitive that it's actually going to put us out of business if we don't unite and we don't get together. I'm a member of also, and I think that you're right. We can do that. And I think I can step up as a leader because I've got such a huge background in both sides of it.
Yeah, and whoever we give this thought to, it's the same issue. It's your livelihood. I have trouble understanding it.
It is, and it's my kid's livelihood now.
Yeah.
And it's a big issue and we take it serious. But for the meantime, we're gonna do the best job we can. We're gonna run the best store we can. I'm not gonna let that stop me. I'm not gonna let that just overwhelm us with what ifs. Because I did that a long time ago and I never went out on my own on business. And so now I am, and I'm so happy for it.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So to that point, 8 years ago, because I get to be the old guy, Steve and I were at a breakfast in Florida at a national conference that we go to on an annual basis. The industry itself from all over the world made a commitment to us. It was Steve and I and Rob Patridge. And the deal was, if we work together as a team, they'd work with us. They help us determine how we do expansion right now. They help us develop matrix on how and demographics on how we would operate. Just so you know, they still believe in us as an organization. And during the 8 years that I've had the pleasure of being here, every time that it had come up to privatize, either openly or behind the scenes, the industry has said, we don't want Oregon to be privatized and we will help you. We commit to you that we will keep that deal with the industry because that relationship helps us now. That's not to say that some organization will want to privatize down the road, but as long as all of you keep your commitment, we'll keep ours. And the industry from all over the world has said, Oregon is doing a great job, keep doing it. So for me, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of anything. Well, my 7-year-old grandson scares the hell out of me, but that's another story. So please don't hesitate to continue to be a part of this. We have commitment to do well.
I can't let that go, only from the point of view is that I agree the industry does, but the industry isn't going to determine whether this is privatized or not. It's just not gonna. There are forces out there that are going to say, we have the money, we want to do this, to hell with the industry. We want to get this thing done. And that's the problem I'm concerned about.
Yeah, and I think we've seen what happened in Washington, but there's still liquor stores in Washington that are running independent of the grocery stores. They're doing a great job. And I feel like we can do that. I feel like right now, I sell more beer because I know the numbers than the Safeway up the street. Probably shouldn't have said that out loud, but I do. And I'm a small store. It's 27 doors of beer and we can do that. So I think we could still compete even if it was out there.
There's only a certain amount of stores in Washington that are competing and all the rest of them are gone.
Sure.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
conversation.
Thank you, Chair Rosenbaum. I have one final applicant. Sorry, I'm running out of juice. Laura, did I do this right?
You're talking about you're getting tired of running out of juice on your computer. So.
Well, my age, you run out of juice a little bit. So with that, Jeff White, you're the last presenter for Loa TV Highway. Morning.
Good morning.
We're doing a pretty good job.
You're 10 minutes away from good afternoon.
Okay, all right.
Good morning, Commission. My name is Jeff White, and this is my wife, Rachel. I would like to thank you for having us here today to present for the TV Highway store. In this presentation, we'll discuss our qualifications and our plans to improve the
current store and elevate its success. I'm the current agent of store 1281 McMinnville North Liquor. I was awarded the store during open recruitment in late 2018. We built our current store from the ground up, which we feel gives us a unique and valuable perspective on store ownership and operations. McMinnville North Liquor opened in April 2019. Since opening, revenues has steadily climbed. Our store has reached $5 million a year in revenue, becoming a top 50 store. My wife and I manage the current store as a team, which works very well. If we're to be awarded the Hillsborough store, we plan to be actively present in both stores on a regular basis. We feel that our knowledge, skills, and experience will lend well to ownership of the second store. We're experienced in liquor store operations, including inventory and cash management, compliance with OLCC rules and regulations, managing employees that are the face of the store, and providing great customer service. Next slide, please.
All right, so proposed short-term changes. Upon visiting the store, we've identified some improvements that we feel can be made to provide a better, more convenient shopping experience for customers, with the ultimate goal of bringing in new customers and increasing sales. We've broken these changes into 3 phases: short-term, midterm, and long-term. So the first and easiest change we can make is expanding the store's hours. We would be open 10 to 8 on weekdays, 10 to 9 on Fridays and Saturdays, and 11 to 6 on Sundays. To be in alignment with other liquor stores, including our current store, we'll make the switch to CAMBS registers and software as our POS system. This will cost around $12,000 for 2 registers, with the option to add a 3rd register if needed for an additional $6,000. We plan to remove the decor that is dated and creating cluttered visual appearance. We'll also change the interior paint to a more neutral color palette, making the store appear more open. We estimate that this will cost around $2,500. Next slide, please. So we think that the TV Highway store has a pretty good sized sales floor, but we think that the layout could be rearranged to maximize space. Some of our proposed short-term changes include: first, obviously, we'll remove unnecessary fixtures in the store to help create more space. As shown in the photos, there's a lot of display cases and sales racks that could be removed and these products placed elsewhere. This will create space for new retail shelving that will be more organized and take up less space. This project will cost around $5,000 to $10,000 for some new Logier fixtures. Second, we'll move around liquor displays to create more visible locations to more prominently highlight liquor products that we'd like to push. And third, we'll make better use of the large counter space up front to promote new products or featured items. The photos on the right show examples of efficient layouts of other liquor stores that we'd like to emulate in the Hillsborough store. Next slide, please. Similar to the store's layout, we feel that the product mix on the shelves can be adjusted. Shelf space for certain categories is underutilized. One example shown on the slide is the gin section. Hillsborough on the left shows the shelf space that we think could hold a larger selection. As you can see, related items are taking up valuable real estate and can be moved to create additional space for a wider selection of brands. Images on the right show examples of shelf space that is fully maximized, which is what we would seek to achieve. Next slide, please. As another example, shelf space devoted to related items is going unused. As you can see in the photos on the left, there's quite a bit of empty space. While we absolutely want a wide variety of mixers and other bar supplies to create a one-stop shopping experience, this section could easily be arranged to be more compact and organized. This can open up room to expand sections that need more space in the store, such as tequila, rum, and RTDs. Photos on the right show a compact organization that we will use as our guide. Efficient use of space means that we'll be able to expand product selection. At the current store, a cornerstone of our success is in customer service is our willingness to bring in items that are requested by our customers. This is a crucial component in developing a customer base that will frequent the store. Next slide, please. From a sales perspective, it appears that the Hillsborough store has low sales volume for licensee accounts. From the start, we'll work to seek out new bar accounts as a crucial step to increasing our revenues. By providing excellent and responsive customer service with an expanded product selection, we are confident that the revenue of licensee sales will increase steadily over time. Next slide, please. So midterm changes. After the initial upgrades and adjustments are made, there are several other ideas that we'd like to implement to continue the store's improvement and drive sales. Next slide, please. Larger changes to the store's layout can be made to continue maximizing space. Some ideas of what we'd love to do are shown on the slide. This could include a store remodel to expand the sales floor, knocking down walls and taking space from a large back room that may not be necessary. We could also install a dedicated cooler section with more doors for beer and other cold items. A rework of the front counter, adding a new modern counter with permanent shelving and fixtures behind it. We approximate these changes to cost nearly $130,000 as these costs continue to climb. We just bought 3 small refrigerators in our current store and it cost $10,000. So a little bit of sticker shock there. Next slide, please. South Hillsborough is rapidly developing. So this means that the store's customer base is growing right along with it. Yay. This is an opportunity we'll fully take advantage of to increase sales year over year. As a way to bring in new customers, we'll brand the store, giving it a distinct and recognizable logo, paired with a social media presence, something that we currently have experience with. Customer service and security will remain a primary focus for the store's daily operations. Continued training for staff on customer service, security, and product knowledge will ensure that the store is running smoothly at all times. Next slide, please.
So some long-term changes, while the current store is in a good location that lends well to operational success, we are also.
1
looking to
minute.
the future. The lease for the store's current location is ending in 2024. Ideally, we'd like to keep the store in its current location if a better space is not available. That said, the option of moving the store in 2024 can provide an opportunity for us to find a location that is larger, more modern, and with more convenient access. New development in South Hillsborough could potentially add a new commercial location that is primed for a liquor store. While we realize that updates and remodeling are important, we feel that determining the future of the store location is a key factor in when and what improvements are made. Overall, we will be committed to the long-term success and continuous improvement of the store. We know what it takes to operate a successful business, and we're fully dedicated to making the needed adjustments that will propel this store into the future. I would be honored to be selected as the agent for the store, and thank you for your consideration.
Question? Perfect.
You were at Cedar Mill store and I always get confused, like, because Cedar Mill is kind of a. Is that the one over by Sunset or is that, okay, yeah, thank you, yeah, I just was trying to clarify.
Any other question? Okay, one, where did you get your data from? Analyze.
I'll take that one. So the first thing that we did was we've been hearing about this store. Just full transparency. We've been hearing about this store for a long time and we've always thought, oh, that would be a great store. That'd be a great store. We want to go for that store. We really like that store. Just because there is so much potential. We've heard about the potential of this store and then you hear about South Hillsborough developing. So I think we've heard a lot anecdotally from reps and all of our vendors and other agents. So we've heard a lot over time about this store and the fact that it would be a really great second store for us. So I think that's kind of where our first initial interest came in applying for this store. And then obviously when it came open, we went and visited and we talked to the current agent and we talked to the staff and we took a look around the store. And that was, I think, probably the main basis for where we came up with some of our recommendations for changes. I don't have access to the information that maybe somebody that works for like a private vendor does. So we did have to rely on the information that was available, but I think that that's enough. And that paired kind of with our experience of knowing what products sell and kind of listening to your customers and looking at your monthly sales and when you're doing your liquor order, ordering accordingly and kind of trying that sales mix. I think that is going to be a really big aspect of this store's success is really being responsive once you get in there and you're seeing what those needs are. So.
Thank
And I
you.
think that a heavy focus on customer service and product selection, expanding that, make it more of a one-stop shop model with the expansion in Hillsborough. I don't see why the store shouldn't compete with every other Portland area store. And I honestly think it should be $4 or $5 million store, no problem.
Yeah. One of the biggest questions I think for this store is the lease. I mean, we know it's ending in 2024. I don't know if there's a potential maybe that it maybe is not ending in 2024. I'd like to get in there and talk to the landlord before I develop grandiose plans in the current space. If it is, lease ending 2024, you must move. I think that's a really great opportunity because you have plenty of time to look for a new space. So you can get into a store that's the right size, that's the right distance away from other stores, that gives you the opportunity to create something from the ground up. So that's an opportunity we'd absolutely love to take. It's just kind of a question mark, I think, at this point. So.
Thank you. One final question. How you're a store owner now, how active are you with the association?
I'm there probably 50 to 60 hours a week.
No. How active
Oh.
are you with the other store agents?
So,
That's also.
go with also,
Or not.
I wouldn't say that active, to be honest with you.
Not that active.
Yeah,
Are you-
we'd like to be more active, but,
Is there an organization of all the store owners? What's the name of it? I know there is, I just don't know the name of it.
Also, Salim Narani.
What is?
Salim.
No, I know what's the name of
Oh,
the,
Associated Liquor Stores of Oregon.
okay, and are you involved in it at all?
not really. We'd like to be more involved, but we just don't have the time between her working full-time at her job and me working full-time at the liquor store. It's tough to get away to go to conferences and stuff like that, so
Okay,
unfortunately, we miss out on a lot of stuff.
thank you. The commissioners will now go into executive session to deliberate on the agent selection pursuant to the authority of ORS 192.660 sub 2 sub A. If there are members of the media present, representative of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. Representative of the media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decisions may be made in an executive session. We will return to open session in this room. We are back in session. Yes, you may.
Thank you very much.
Even if I said no.
Do it anyway. I wanted to thank all of you for what you're doing. You guys are doing things that make us successful just by showing up. People often talk about change and you have to do all of this. The fact that you show up in the room creates change. It has changed how we do business. You changed how we do business in the state of Oregon from when I first came on board. You know more. You have more to offer. It is fantastic. So whatever happens, what I'm saying is we are going to continue to expand what we're doing in the state because the state continues to grow. That means I'd like to see each of you, as many times as you want, come forward, help us continue to grow. And I want to say thank you very much for who you are. Please continue.
Well said on behalf of the entire commission. Thank you.
Keep working hard. Honestly, everybody here today would have been successful. This was a very difficult decision. We took into account a lot of different things. We hope to see all of you back. If you were not the chosen one for this particular store. And I echo everything that Commissioner Revolve has said. So for the Hillsborough store, we moved to appoint Jason Newman as the permanent agent at store 1239 Hillsborough TV Highway, effective December 1st, 2022.
Will you take the roll?
James Newman. Did I say Jason?
Commissioner Curran,
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Japon Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Melitas,
Yes.
Commissioner Revolve,
Yes.
Chair Rosenbaum.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Rosenbaum.
Thank
Great
you.
week. Have a happy holidays.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
We are on rules and staff recommendations, Nicole.
No, I'm not.
They're not all leaving because you're coming up here. which is-
Well, personally.
She's.
All right. Good afternoon, Chair Rosenbaum and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Nicole Blase and I am the Rules Coordinator for the OLCC. I'm here to present one rulemaking action for your consideration today. The first item for a final action is the 2022 marijuana legislative and technical package. The Oregon Legislature passed House Bills 4016 and 4074, which will require amendments to administrative rules set forth in Chapter 845, Division 25. Legislative changes include requirements for laboratory employees to obtain worker permits and allowing relocation of a marijuana retailer if the OLCC becomes aware that a school is located within 1,000 feet of the retailer. OLCC staff also proposed to make technical amendments and corrections to administrative rules in Chapter 845, Divisions 25 and 26. And before we continue to questions or a vote, I have TJ Sheehy here to provide some additional clarification for the audit testing rule, as well as the change in the sampling retention time requirement.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. TJ Sheehy, Director of Analytics and Research for the OLCC. And like Nicole said, here to provide an overview of the proposed changes to the audit testing rules and how that program will function and why we're proposing these rules. Next slide. So OLCC has had an audit testing authority and an audit testing rule since the inception of the program. It's changed a couple times based on challenges that have come up in the industry, most recently eValley in 2019. And rules were adopted in 2020 to make changes to and expansions to that program permanent. And so we're coming to you with additional proposed changes, again, because of issues that are rising in the industry. The rule that we have on the books today works in some situations, but has gaps in regards to others. So primarily the two gaps that this proposed rule are working to close are one, if we see a big discrepancy, particularly in potency testing between audit testing and what is on the label, there is lack of clarity of what happens there because the compliance testing that's done under OHA's rules trump anything else, and that was what goes on the label. And so this rule is meant to address that. Also, there's a distinction in rule and statute between licensees, which are producers, processors, wholesalers, retailers, and laboratory licensees. And so there's some ambiguity about our authority in rule currently to require laboratories specifically to provide material to us to test to these sorts of issues. So the proposed rule closes these gaps by one, clarifying laboratories' role in this, as well as requiring them to retain samples for a minimum period of time after they report results so that we have access to the actual material tested. And then second, creating better structure and clarity of what happens in regards to potency testing if we identify a big difference and when that difference is quote unquote big enough to take action. Next slide, please. So why do we need this rule and why are we specifically talking about potency? First and foremost, as we all know, the market conditions in marijuana are extremely competitive, and there's a major competitive advantage in having high potency numbers. The laboratories do the sampling of material, but they're also selected by the licensees to do testing. So that creates an incentive structure where licensees can vote with their feet to get the highest results so that they can get the best shelf space. And we've seen a significant uptick in complaints, both from labs as well as producers, processors about this environment. And so we're taking action to help resolve this, what I've called in the rulemaking sessions, a tragedy of the commons that we're currently facing. And testing is really important in the legal industry. It's a cornerstone of it. It's why we have people coming to our stores, or at least one of the main factors of why they come to our stores and don't buy on the illicit market, because they know or should know that it's safe for the things we test for, it's accurate for the things that we test for, and they are paying for what they're getting. And I'd just like to also emphasize that this is a rule in addition to the other regulatory tools we currently have and will retain. It's not meant to replace anything. It's really meant to beef up what we can do. Next slide, please. So briefly, why don't those tools I just mentioned solve this problem already? We have obviously ORLAP accreditation under OHA that ensures technical proficiency of the lab, so they have to get that accreditation before we can license them. But that is not really a substitute for day-to-day compliance and doesn't really solve that tragedy of the commons problem I described. So labs also undergo proficiency testing through ORLAP to make sure that they can actually accurately detect analytes that they're required to test for, but they know when it's ORLAP coming knocking to test them. That's completely different than when a client is coming to them to pay and expects or wants a particular result. These are also extraordinarily difficult cases to prove. There's a lot of different ways that fraudulence or gaming can be done. It can be done by either the licensee or the lab. And you can imagine in these situations, the fingers point at each other. And so it's very difficult to actually prove, what went wrong, who did it, and find a compliance hook to hold them accountable. And so again, the fundamental problem here is the incentive structure in the industry, which this rule is trying to flip, so that it's, instead of going for the highest result, it's going for the most accurate result. Next slide. So in addition to the complaints that I talked about, we've done our own exploratory testing. Obviously not anything that's resulted in relabeling because this rule hasn't been on the books, but you can see there in this slide, this is actual results that we have from our own audit testing, where we took material off the shelves, tested it with 6 labs, round robin style, same homogenized material, and compared it to the original compliance lab, in some cases from the same lab that was participating in the round robin test. And you can see that solid line is what was on the label, so the original compliance test, and each of those dots are the round robin individual results from the 6 labs that we subsequently tested with. And you can see that the highest initial scores, potency scores, had the biggest drop off in the audit testing round robin. And so that sort of supports this conclusion that there's this race to the top in terms of potency that doesn't actually bear out with what it is being stated as. Next slide, please.
How do they do that?
Well, it really depends. I mean, there's a lot of different ways it can be done. So one is not actually randomly sampling like they're supposed to. And so they go and the lab will take off the top, for example. And in some cases, we've actually heard complaints of the producer or the processor or whoever, the original licensee, actually spiking the sample. And so doing what's called queefing, or actually spraying it with distillate, things like that. And so there's ways that this actual sample can be tainted or non-selectively sampled. There's also, on the other extreme, potentially the lab just outright putting in fake numbers. And that's a little bit easier to catch based on the data. And that's happened in other states, but there's a lot of different ways that you could still sort of get the result that you're putting in by gaming the sample or the testing method a little bit.
Thank you.
So the new rules would put in place an actual framework for round robin testing. Just on the dates, obviously these rules won't go into effect until January 1st, the whole package that's before you today. But what we've done is we've created a limited backwards look here, where we wouldn't actually be able to begin testing the material until January 1st or ordered relabeling until January 1st. But things that have been tested on or after December 1st of this year would be, quote unquote, eligible for this program. The idea being here, we're trying to balance 2 things. One, making sure that things that are on the shelf being sold to consumers now are accurate and consumers are getting what they're paying for, while at the same time acknowledging the basic incentive structure that's been in place so far, and licensees sort of having to get along to a certain extent.
And we pushed that back a little, right?
What's that?
We pushed that back from where we were.
Correct. So originally this rule was proposed with no sunrise date at all or any sort of line in the sand. So anything on the shelf now could have been tested regardless of when it was done. During the public comment draft that we put November 1st as the date, and then we are now pushing it back for what's being proposed to you for passage to December 1st. So that date has changed as we've gone through this rule.
But January 1 okay, so yeah, I know that was a concern of a lot of folks, and so I appreciate that. And I think it needs to be noted that we did that, so.
Yes, thank you for noting that. So, again, trying to strike that balance of acknowledging the different dynamics and pressures that everyone is facing, while also the real sort of consumer interest here of accurate information. And I'll touch on what this means in a little bit more detail in the next slides, but the audit testing that results in statistically significant differences can be, under this rule, required to be relabeled. So what I was saying before of the original lab test trumps anything else, this changes that. So it gives us the authority to say the original compliance test is overruled, and what now needs to be labeled is the average of the audit testing round robin that we do under this program. I also want to point out that there is no penalty or violation associated with this, at least in terms of the actual audit testing itself. So the only consequence of finding a statistically significant difference is the product has to be relabeled accurately for consumers. that being said, it may be that in doing this program, we realize that there is problems, violations by either the licensees or the labs. And so this testing will, I would anticipate, trigger further investigation into the underlying cause of how those sorts of discrepancies happened. But the audit testing in and of itself doesn't result in violations. It may trigger investigations that we use our other tools that I talked about to further dig in, which may result in violations coming before you in the future. And as I said before, the goal here is to flip that incentive structure from get the highest results possible to get the most accurate result possible. Next slide, please. So at the risk of putting the entire room to sleep, what is a t-test and what are some of the details here? I do want to point out, we're not trying to play any games or hide the ball here. I mean, this is a t-test is a widely recognized and widely understood statistical test method. And so we're just using that. And you could Google it and find plenty of resources online. It's a basic of any Stats 101 course. So at its most basic level, a t-test is a statistical method to see whether two sets of numbers really do represent the same thing or not. The OHA testing is set up so that the potency result that is on the label is meant to represent the average of the entire batch. And so really what we're testing is whether, based on audit testing round robin results and that OHA original, the compliance result originally, whether those two numbers can truly represent the average of the same set of material. And we set a threshold of 99% statistical confidence. Typically in something like, research, a journal article, something like that, statistical significance is usually 95%. So we're actually increasing that to 99% so that we're pretty certain that whatever result we find is for sure, not really representative of each other. And so the way to understand that 99% confidence interval is if we find something that is significant at that 99% level, what it's saying is that there's effectively only a 1% chance through normal statistical variation that we would find a result that big if the two numbers really represented the same thing.
There's an old saying, there's small lies, there's big lies, and there's the useless statistic.
No comment. So I mean, the way that statistical significance works is it's about probability, right? So that this is the best we can really do of giving ourselves an assurance of likelihood that these two things are different. And so really what this is about is testing our confidence in the original labeled result using the labs that we have. And t-tests are based on really two things. They're a function of two things. One is how big of a difference it is. So in this case, how big of a difference between the original results and the round robin average. And the second is the spread in the variation in the round robin. So I've got a couple of specific examples. Next slide, please. And we've posted an Excel file that allows people to actually input their own sort of simulated or actual potentially data in here. To see how this changes the calculations. But on the left side, you see, this is pretend data, but on the left side, some simulated round robin results, and then the original compliance result. And then on the right side is the statistical test with at the bottom telling you whether or not it's significant at that 99% level. So in this case, the round robin average is 25%. You have the four scores, 23%, 24, 26, 28, compared to an original score of 35%. So with that round robin average of 25% and the variation being pretty small, that is statistically significant at a 99% level. And so this, under this program, would be eligible for us to require it to be relabeled at 25% rather than 35%. Next slide, please. Now, this is an example where the round robin average is the same, 25%, but the spread is a lot bigger between the labs. So you see a lot more variation with the top test in this simulated round robin being 31% and the bottom being 19%. And so this is an example where even though the actual difference between the average round robin and the original result is the same, it's 10 percentage points. This one would not be statistically significant because there's so much spread in that round robin. And so that's how this program would function is we take the round robin results, we crunch those numbers using the same method, and it would tell us whether it's statistically significant or not. And I think that's the last slide. Next slide. Yeah, perfect. I'd be happy to.
Nice job. You did a good job, and it's, my question to you is, in light of everything that you've been doing, what's the one thing as a result of this that keeps you up at night, if anything?
As a result of the status quo or?
What could happen in the future?
Well, I do have, I'll be honest, I have a little bit of heartburn of, there are licensees who are complicit in this. And like I mentioned, to Commissioner Doherty's question, sometimes actually outright spiking samples. There are others who just know that in this environment, they have to go to the labs that are going to give them the higher results. So I do honestly have a little bit of heartburn where some people are going to have been doing what they need to do to survive in this environment, and they didn't do anything wrong, and potentially get caught in the mix here of having to relabel. That being said, we're really going to focus, especially initially, on the ones that are extreme outliers. We're talking about the usable marijuana that is 35%, 40%. I'd say when you get to the 40% plus range, there's not really, as from what we've seen and what we've heard and in the testing we did, there's not really a lot of, it's not particularly realistic that it's actually 40% unless there's something else being done, whether that's spiking the sample or the lab doing something on the bench to cheat. And so we will for sure, at least initially, I think, be focused on those extreme outliers and let the market incentives take shape to get those numbers to more realistic levels for those people who are getting along to get along.
And how many people we have new in the budget for this, if any?
So let me distinguish two things here. This is just rules, no legislative action or budget request. We do have.
You're gonna have one.
We do have a policy option package proposed to sort of dovetail with the reference lab legislative concept and budget ask. And so the policy option package would ask for money to do this testing at a greater clip. And not just potency testing, but also audit testing for heavy metals and microcontamination and all those other things related to public health and safety. And so it asks for money for that, as well as additional positions. It asks for an additional in-depth inspector. Right now we have, I think, 4. And so this would complete this ask, if given, would give us a 5th in-depth inspector. So we have 1 in every region to help with the logistics of this, because it does get complicated. And then it also would be a compliance specialist 2 who would operate in my shop with the metric specialists we already have to analyze the data, see where we have the discrepancies and where we should be sort of identifying for things like this. And then the 3rd position is a natural resource specialist 4 position, which would also be sort of a technical expert on the science and lab testing issues to coordinate with the reference lab, knock on wood, that is created, and would also be an internal resource for those sorts of issues.
So how many people we have actually doing the testing?
Well, the testing is done by the labs. So we have 20, I want to say, licensed labs right now. And we have our inspectors go and get product in the field and then deliver it to the lab.
So we need the people to analyze it as opposed to the actual testing of it. Not to analyze it, but to what's the right word to use? That new position,
to analyze the data.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that would be a big support we have a lot of licensees and we have a lot of data in metric. And so more resources to analyze that data lets us sort of funnel more actionable information to people like inspectors to take action on instead of trying to eat the whole elephant.
But you could have data from the floor to the ceiling. If you got nobody, to analyze that data, it's worthless.
Correct.
So.
How many, did you finish?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How much of the industry is really interested in having accuracy versus getting shelf space?
Well, I'd like to think that they're all interested in both. I think, I mean, I wouldn't be able to put a number on it. I think the people who are more interested in getting on the shelf, regardless of anything and willing to do anything to do it, I think is a small minority of the industry. I think most of the people, at least based on the conversations I've had, things that I've seen, and honestly, the people reporting the things to us that they don't have to report to us, but they do. I think the vast majority of the industry wants this to be done right, and they want to succeed in a market that is fair.
To chime in too, like TJ said, it's important because there's a lot of loud voices that don't want this, but there's a lot more voices that are like, they don't want THC to be the sole factor. They're growing great product and they feel it's an art and a craft. And in some ways, the skewed THC, it's just something that they have, that the consumer fixates on. And it's not fair to everybody else. So, this is the tools that OLCC has to get it done. I think, anytime we make a rule that it's gonna impact people, it's gonna ruffle some feathers. But I do think, we've had a few meetings with industry folks on it. And I think this is the tools we have to address the industry's concerns to do it. So I think, I'm never like, ruffling feathers, get people upset, but I do think this is a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking if we want to be the leaders in this industry, I think that's kind of accurate. It's going to be a part of it. And the industry itself has to hold itself accountable. I mean, along with us, because once this goes national, we want to be the ones to be looked to for the professionalism that's required in the industry. And I probably should be having this conversation with people in the industry rather than you, but that's what I hope for Oregon.
Just Chairman, might actually have a question to TJ I don't know the answer to, but when you look at other states, right, we got a diversity, a private system of labs, we've got that baked in problem of trying to create the level playing field with diversity of labs. In other states that are similar to us, are they doing anything like this anywhere else? I know a lot of people are trying to normalize those results. Is this unique in our mind? I think it's very good. I'm just wondering if there's other states that you see, and I know you've looked all around it all just to give this commission and be a sense of what other states, whether they're up with this, keeping up with this, or have narrower systems that they more readily.
Yeah, so I'd say broadly, this is a problem everywhere in the adult use markets because of the market pressures to get on shelf space and things like that. So the problem is omnipresent. I think different states have taken different approaches. I'm not aware of anyone doing anything like this in other states. California recently is now going to be requiring a standardized method of testing. I think for potency specifically, maybe other things as well. I'm not sure that that's been implemented yet, but at least from what I've read, there's a feeling like that won't necessarily address the problem wholly. There's issues, Michigan, Nevada, Washington, there's a lot of data out there of, certain labs skewing high or whatever else, and the tools being imperfect at best to deal with those. We were at CANRA back in July in Washington. And I think that the direction that most states are moving is towards a reference lab, which is, in my view, necessary but not sufficient. And so there's a lot of states implementing reference labs. And that helps with some of the audit testing and standardizing methods and sort of having a source of truth. But the problem really is the day-to-day compliance. And so I actually asked that panel what states are doing to address the sampling issues and whether it's accurate or preferential. And no one has an answer to that. And so I think that's the last mile here is even if you have a reference lab and even if you have everything else, it's batch to batch. How do you really ensure the incentive structures are aligned so that what is supposed to be happening in the field of accurate representative random samples is what's being taken?
Well,
Are we gonna do, I had a couple of comments and questions. I could save until after the rules package, because they weren't specific to this, but I didn't know if we're gonna do the rules. We're gonna go over the rules or just vote on them.
I would need a motion and a vote today for the package at large, but we're happy to answer any questions that you have.
You want to ask?
Before, while we're on the record, I just wanted to make sure I thanked everybody who was involved in this entire package. We had a lot of involvement. It was, I think, my experience from this time last year when we were doing stuff, but it's gotten a lot more efficient and effective on how to get this done. I should have of the two associations of OCIA, Jesse Bonacue did a great job. Nikki Turgeon, Margolis, Jennifer Williamson, Mike Getlin, and then Alex Berger too from Emerge Law. We were able to get a lot of those things addressed that were maybe superfluous are going to cause issue to the industry, and I appreciate staff doing that. Everything that we saw as issues, I really appreciate you all addressing, and at least if there were not things that could be addressed, just sort of taking the time to explain, whether it was a law, whether it was, because there's certain things that people want changed, but they don't realize is, we're mandated by legislature to do certain things. So, great job this time to everybody. And the one other piece that I'll say is, one thing that's come up and I mentioned last year, this time we did the CBN gross testing, and I know we're looking at that closely because, there's a lot of businesses impacted by that. And I just want them to know that we are taking that seriously, and we are keeping abreast of how that's going, and we'll continue that discussion and looking at it and being as fair as we can. Is that an accurate statement? We'll be as fair as we can on it.
Yeah, I think that's an accurate statement. I'm not as in tune to where people are in that process, but I do know there's at least one company that's seriously pursuing that. And again, it'll be a question of sort of considering where they are in the process, the steps they've taken as it relates to that July timeline, and whether there's further discussions there.
We'll keep an eye on it. I know a lot of people that find that important and feel it's a very important thing, so it's important to me too. So it's all set.
Very good. I think we need a motion.
Chair,
Commissioner?
I move to amend 845-025-1015, 1045, 1060, 1100, 1115, 1135, 1160, 1175, 1190, 1200, 1215, 1230, 1245, 1290, 1295, 1300, 1330, 1360, 1400, 1410, 1420, 1430, 1460, 1470, 1600, 1620, 2020, 2025, 2030, 2040, 2050, 2500, 2550, 2750, 2755, 2775, 2785, 2800, 2820, 2840, 2860, 2885, 2900, 2910, 3210, 3215, 3220, 3230, 3240, 3250, 3260, 3270, 3280, 3290, 3300, 3310, 3500, 3510, 3600, 5000, 5045, 5060, 5350, 5500, 5720, 5730, 5740, 5760, 5790, 7000, 7010, 7020, 7030, 7110, 7140, 7150, 7160, 7170, 7180, 7190, 7500, 7520, 7560, 7570, 7580, 7590, 7700, 7750, 8040, 8060, 8080, 8500, 8520, 8540, 8560, 8570, 8590, and 845-026-0100, 0210, 7000, 7030, 7040, and 7070, and to adopt 845-025, 1165, 1170, 1180, 5800, 5810, 5815, 5820, 5830, 5840, 5850, 7575, 7725, and 8760, effective January 1st, 2023.
Could you repeat that? I missed
Wow, I double checked.
Wow.
Please take the roll. Commissioner Curran,
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Japon Porter,
Yeah.
Commissioner Melitas,
Yes.
Commissioner Revolt,
Yes.
Chair Rosenbaum.
Yes. Okay, we're convening to executive session to confer with counsel. The commissioners will now go into the executive session to confer with counsel with regards to current litigation pursuant to the authority of ORS 192.660 sub 2, sub H. If there are members of the media present, the representative of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the media are specifically directed not to report on any deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in the executive session. We will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room. I think we can go in here, can't we? Yeah, I think we go. This has been a productive day so far. We're back in session. We had an executive session with our council. And Commissioner Miletus, do you have a statement, please? And I think we need a vote on this.
Yeah, in the form of a motion.
It's the form of a motion.
In the matter of Long Cave Trudies, we move to reject settlement.
We take the roll, please.
Commissioner Curran,
No.
Commissioner Doherty,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Japon Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Miletus,
Yes.
Commissioner Revolve,
Yes.
Chair Rosenbaum.
Yes. Okay, now we're going back to the agenda. Oh, the compliance cases. Does anybody have any issues with the alcohol or marijuana?
I was just gonna say one thing on just in general, on the marijuana one, the Blaze distribution. I've spoken to those guys, good operators. It sounds like there was good stuff. We had reached out with concern. As always, if there are concerns with settlement, they always have the ability to challenge it, go to the administrative law judge, or if they're concerned with it. We talked on our call. Rich Evans is there to deal with it, the hearing unit. So, they want to get that stuff nipped in the bud as much as anybody else does. If there is any issues and when people have a concern with the charges brought against them, they will deal with it. So I would advise anybody to challenge with it, challenge the ALJ or work with the agency to address their specific concerns. But it sounds like they decided to settle, so let it resolve it. So.
We're making your job easy today.
Yeah.
I'm thankful.
So the question that I have is, which under the very rare circumstances that there's no questions, can we do them all, or do we have to have two different motions on it?
We can do them all. Yeah.
I don't see any.
We can issue it.
All right, will somebody make a motion and just do them all?
Chair,
Commissioner?
regarding the alcohol stipulated settlements as well as the marijuana stipulated settlements,
There you go.
I move to ratify the 2 stipulated settlements on the alcohol side as well the 2 stipulated settlements on the marijuana side as proposed by staff.
Commissioner Curran,
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Japon Porter,
Yeah.
Commissioner Miletus,
Yes.
Commissioner Revolve,
Yes.
Chair Rosenbaum.
Yes. Last but not least, certainly in my book, good morning, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon.
This will be quick.
It better be.
Here's just a confirm, let's move on. I'm just kidding. Good afternoon, Chairman Smart, Commissioner. For the record, I'm Nikki Leslie, Distribution and Purchasing Director. I'm here today to present before the commission the product listing activity for the month of July, August, September, and October. It was a big 4 month. Under tab 1, you'll find a detailed list of activity, and staff recommending the commissioner confirm the 82 item on the list. Quite a bit. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions, Commissioner? I need a motion.
Chair, well, there we
Go
go.
ahead, go ahead.
Okay. Chair, I move to confirm the 82 items for July, August, September, and October.
Commissioner Curran,
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Japon Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Miletus,
Yes.
Commissioner Revolve,
Yes.
Chair Rosenbaum.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nikki, I can't say enough for how much we appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
I told them you're about the only one who can understand the NAPCA files anyway. Any feedback, Steve?
Last and least, let's get on to it.
You're about ready?
Yep.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.